I mean, I'd love to talk to him. What is CNN doing? Are they getting ready for this? Here we go. There's no way to like lower the volume on this. It's so stupid.
All right, and it is up and running.
Mute it periodically.
We're live here at St. Anselm College for CNN's Town Hall with
Up
President
and
Trump.
running.
I'm Caitlin Collins. Tonight, President Trump is here as he embarks on a campaign unlike
Yep,
other
there we go.
U.S. presidential elections. He's the first former president in more than a century to seek a return to the White House.
She's
and
so
he's currently leading a
Who's even doing the
Republican
moderating?
field, also facing
You know?
multiple criminal
It's just her? I think so,
investigations. Just yesterday, he was found liable for sexual abuse.
Don Lemon's not doing it?
No questions are on the
okay.
table.
No, he doesn't work at CNN anymore.
Oh, does it happen? Oh, I didn't know.
Our audience is made up of Republicans and undeclared
Elon Musk offered Don Lemon to do his show on Twitter. No joke,
They'll get the
seriously,
chance
he
to question the former president directly. These voters,
That would be
who
very
care about
controversial.
the most, will help decide if former President Trump will get a
So
second chance
what do we
to
think?
take on President Joe Biden.
Is Trump going to be as crazy as ever, or is he going to be really toned down?
Former President Donald Trump.
I think he's going to probably tone himself down. He may make a few remarks.
Here.
He's dying. He's looking presidential.
One side standing ovation.
Got that power tie on.
So for those that are listening, we'll be reading your super chats periodically throughout the show, where they're most relevant.
Did you notice he doesn't have an X where he has to
Trump,
walk?
thank you for your time
Oh,
here
yeah,
tonight.
like a mark.
Yeah, I don't
Great
know.
crowd here in New
Well, as a
Hampshire, a
chair.
lot of voters with a lot of questions about what your 2024 term would look like, what another Trump term would look like. We'll get to the voters shortly, but your polls show that you were dominating the Republican race right now, but you were also under active federal investigation for trying to overturn the 2020 election results. Your first term ended with a deadly riot at the Capitol, and you still have not
Deadly
publicly
riot.
acknowledged
Yeah.
police
Deadly
involving
riot.
election
Cop shot
results.
somebody.
Why should Americans put you back in the White House?
Because we did fantastically. We got 12 million more votes than we had in, as you know, in 2016. I actually say we did far better in that election. Got the most that anybody's ever gotten as a sitting president of the United States. I think that when you look at that result and when you look at what happened during that election, unless you're a very stupid person, you see what happened. A lot of the people in this audience, and maybe a couple that don't, but most people understand what happened. That was a rigged election, and it's a shame that we had to go through it. It was very bad for our country. All over the world, they looked at it.
No.
And they saw exactly what everyone else
the
saw.
issue is,
Even
what does it
if you just
mean?
look recently with the
If we're talking about universal mail-in voting,
16-point difference. If you look at the FBI,
President.
if you look at the FBI and Twitter, they call it Twitter files.
You see, that's what he's talking
If you
about.
look at
Mr. President, back to what you just said
if you're
there,
talking
though,
about
it
big
was not a
tech-
rigged election. It was not a stolen election. You and your supporters lost more than 60 court cases on the election. It's been nearly 2.5 years. Can you publicly acknowledge that you did lose the 2020 election?
Let me just go on. If you look at the vote, they
Stop
found
talking,
millions of
Caitlin,
votes
says
on
Trump.
camera, on government cameras, where they were stuffing ballot boxes. So with all of that, I think it's a shame that what happened. I think it's a very sad thing for our country.
No, I think Trump's
it's a
surrounded
very
himself with
sad thing,
bad
frankly,
people
for the world.
who
because
misled
if you
him
look
on
at what's
this.
gone to our country. Our country has gone to hell. Our borders are bad. Our military has been bad. You look at the taxes. You look at inflation. What's happened to inflation? It's just destroying our country. We've really become, in many ways, a third world country. And it's very sad what's happened in this administration. And it's something that will turn around on day one. We were energy independent. Now energy is at a level that we've never had to pay before. Nobody can afford to continue to pay what's happening with energy. But we were energy independent. We were getting out of Afghanistan with strength and with dignity. And instead we got out. We looked like fools. Probably the most
Mr.
embarrassing
President,
moment in the history of our country.
We have a lot of questions about the economy and foreign
Good.
policy
He needs to
tonight.
articulate his
But what
thoughts
you just
better.
said there, Republican officials debunked those claims about fraudulent ballots. We want to give you a chance tonight.
Who?
Republican officials in Georgia and every single state. There is no your own election officials, Mr. President. So we want to
People
give
were
you a
afraid
chance.
to take on the issue, but we have a big problem in this country. We have
we want to give you a chance
elections.
to
We have
acknowledge the
elections
results.
that were horrible. If you look at what happened in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, if you look at what happened in Detroit, Michigan, if you look at what happened in
What?
Atlanta,
He just shouldn't get him
millions of
serious.
votes.
I know this is
And
it's
you have to do
frustrating
is
because
look
it's
at
just
government
3
cameras,
years
you'll see that.
old.
People
Well,
going to 28
and
different
Cena
voting
knows
booths
that he'll
to
take the bait.
vote. You
Yep.
put in
They're
$7
baiting him to talk about something that nobody wants to
I'm
hear.
going to stop you there because
He'd look
there's
better
no
if he
evidence
just
that. Your
stayed
own
on
election
topic.
officials testified to that and have said that Republicans in
The
these
issue
states
is
did
the
this in
structural
Georgia,
changes
there were
Democrats
multiple
made that gave them
recount
advantages
We have
with ground
questions
game,
about
universal
the
mail-in
claims
voting,
you're making
nursing homes,
tonight
ballot harvesting,
from
ballot
voters on this
chasing.
topic. I want to
You're like,
bring
oh,
in
Rick, I get
Scott
it.
from Concord.
Yeah,
He works in
Trump
insurance
is just
litigation.
say it and
He's
then
an
get off the
undeclared
topic
voter.
'cause
That's
it's
what they
old.
call independence here in New Hampshire, as you know.
Yeah,
He
I
did
don't
vote
think
for you
I don't
in
think him
2020.
talking
Scott,
about
what's your
that's
question
going
for
to
the
do any
president?
favors.
No, I
Hi,
got
President
this.
Trump. Welcome back to New Hampshire.
I mean, we're the only ones watching this. Other
Will
than
you
that,
suspend
yeah, I know.
polarizing talk of election fraud during your run for president?
Will I suspend? Excuse me, what?
Will you suspend polarizing talk of election fraud during your run for president?
Yeah, unless I see election fraud. If I see election fraud,
They're going to bait him so hard with this. It's what's going to hurt him most.
Did he write the question? Because he had to read it.
They
I hope to
write them
do
and then
that. I hope
moderators
we're going to have very honest
select. So I
elections.
assume some people get assigned
We should have
questions, too.
voter ID. We should have one-day elections. We should have paper ballots.
He's right about
instead of
that.
these mail-in
We should
votes.
have
But,
one-day
the answer
voting,
is yes,
IDs,
and I
paper
hope
ballots.
that
Absolutely.
It's going to be very straight up, because if it's going to be straight up, we're going to win the election.
So you will suspend talk to his question about the 2020 election on the
He said
campaign
yes.
I
trail?
guess we're going to just win. We're at a point now. We're getting so close. Let's just win it again and straighten out our country.
One other question on this.
That was
He's so
succinct.
mad.
Yeah. They always want to force him into saying yes or no.
In the past, you once suggested terminating the Constitution. Do you stand by those comments?
You were able to do certain things. I'm not talking about terminating the Constitution. I'm talking about cherishing the Constitution. The Constitution says that we're supposed to have legal and well-maintained and well-looked-at elections, and we didn't have that. I cherish our Constitution, but we have to live up to the Constitution. We weren't living up to the Constitution.
I would just say there's no evidence of that election fraud. You did once tweet.
They're baiting him. He's falling right for it.
I'm glad you say that.
We
but-
can't
but-
handle
but-
him.
He can. He can say that's so old. Are you seriously talking about that? You sound silly.
Let's talk about important topics.
That's right. Yeah. He could deflect too.
They
Ask me a real
know.
question.
They know this hurts him in the polls
We
with
have
moderates.
honest elections in our country. We have open borders.
There we go.
Yeah. He needs to pivot to a question.
The borders.
Yeah,
You look at
that's
what's
the borders.
happening.
I mean, I liked his Afghanistan
Elections,
report
we have
too.
open borders. Look at what's happening on our southern border. Millions and millions of people are coming in. They're being released from prisons. They're being released from mental institutions. And we have millions of people pouring into our country. And now they're getting rid of Title 42, which I put on, which kept people out that were sick.
And Mr. President, we have a lot of questions about immigration to get to tonight. Obviously, that's a big topic.
She's gonna go back to
especially
fraud.
given what's expected to happen tomorrow. But I want to talk about the influence you have over your voters. It's very clear that you are very influential over them. You have a lot of impact. I've been to many of your rallies and seen it up close, which raised a lot of questions about the influence that we saw that you had on them on January 6th.
January 6th. This is the whole plan for the town hall.
Yeah.
Do you have any regrets about your actions on January 6th?
Well, you know, January 6th was,
Here we
again,
go.
we go back to it, but January 6th had to do with the fact that hundreds of thousands of people, and you don't see the pictures very often. A lot of the people here probably
Yeah,
were there.
he
January
is
6th
getting
was the
played.
largest crowd I've ever spoken to. That was prior to the walk down to the Capitol building. I don't think, and I've spoken to hundreds of thousands of people. I've never spoken to a crowd as large as this. And that was because they thought the election was rigged. And they were there proud. They were there with love in their heart. That was an unbelievable, and it was a beautiful day. And what I was asked to do, I wasn't involved in it very much. I was asked to come in when I make a speech. I made a speech. I said, walk peacefully and patriotically, you know, many different things. In fact, I brought a list of things. I don't want to bore the audience, but we can go sentence after sentence after sentence of things I said and things I put out.
They're playing
One
trouble
of the
like
big problems was that Nancy Pelosi, Crazy Nancy as I affectionately call her, Crazy Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington were in charge, as you know, of security.
I'm not
And
sure
they
what he's
did
supposed to do
their
now
job.
because they're going to just keep hitting
They
him.
are,
And he can keep
well, I
pivoting.
offered them National Guard.
And
I
say-
said,
he
we'll
can
give you
say-
soldiers, we'll give you National Guard,
And I
we'll
think
give
this
you
is a good
whatever you
point.
want.
I mean, the
And they turned me
Capitol,
down.
if they thought
And
it
in
was
fact,
state
she turned me
security,
down. She
has
turned
no
me
security.
down in
And
writing. They
that's
turned me
up to
down.
the mayor.
But you're acting defense
They're
secretary
getting
Chris Miller
they're
at the time. He says
knocking
you
him off
never
point.
gave a full
Trump needs to talk about the economy,
with the National
immigration.
Guard. But when it came to
Immigration,
the
immigration
day-
right now.
He
Chris
has-
Miller wrote a book, and he's a fantastic guy, and he was ready to go.
I bet the producer in her ear is saying, no, back. January 6th election, January 6th election. Knock him down in the polls. It'll hurt Trump
We
bad.
don't like the look. Nancy Pelosi said, oh, we don't like the
Only
look.
10 minutes.
They haven't said the
They
I
were
word
just-
yet.
I offered them 10,000
But he really
soldiers.
should have,
I said,
like, very
it could
succinct
be
talking
10,
points on
it could be
these
more,
so
but
he
I
can
offered
then
them
pivot.
specifically
But they're baiting
10,000
him.
soldiers. If they would have taken 500
smart enough
soldiers,
to-
he wouldn't have had the problem.
to see that,
They
I
turned
would
it down.
hope.
And if you look at the Inspector General report, he says they turned it down. They made a terrible mistake.
Well, Chris Miller was your acting defense secretary. He says you never gave
This
that order.
response
But back to what
isn't a
happened on the day.
terrible
You said you
response.
weren't.
I think-
I think this
He
is his
testified
best
that,
line.
Mr.
He did not
President.
say that.
But you said you weren't
And if he
very
deflects
involved that
entirely
day. You
with
did tell
Lord
your supporters to come to
Suspicious.
Washington. You tweeted about that speech that happened on the rally.
Am I allowed
so
to say that?
when they went to the Capitol and they were breaking into the Capitol, smashing windows, injuring police officers, why did it take you 3 hours to tell them to go home?
I don't believe it did. Oh, let me pull it out. I have to pull it out.
That's going to be memed. Let me pull it out. I have to pull it out.
So if you look at on January 5th, the day before, I said, please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. Stay peaceful. This was the day before, and this was in the form of Twitter. Now use Truth Social. I think it's far superior, okay? I hope everybody's on
He also sponsors
I hope
himself.
everybody's on Truth. If you look January 6th, it's at before 2:30. I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. This is right after, as it was happening. But what
right.
happened
He's
is
completely right.
they took it down. I don't
Did
know
say
why.
you
I think they
got
took it down because it was so good. They didn't like it being up there.
This is Trump. Come on.
And we didn't know until I got it back, because now I have 90 million people waiting for me to go back, but I'm on Truth and I'm staying on Truth. Listen, I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violation. We want no violation. We want no violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men
remember
and
that tweet.
women in blue. Thank you. That was at 2:30. That
And
was
the
very early.
breach
Mr.
was
President, I
what?
looked at the same timeline that you did.
104, 105?
No,
Once
no,
it was
but you didn't
clear,
report that. You know why? Because it was
we did
taken
report it.
down.
I was reporting
it was
that
taken
day.
down and it wasn't
But when it was
put
clear to you that they were not being peaceful, you saw them rushing the Capitol, breaking windows, they were hitting officers with flagpoles, tasing them, beating them up. When it was clear they weren't
line of
being
questioning.
peaceful, why did you wait 3 hours to tell them to leave
didn't.
the Capitol? They listened to you like no one else. You know that.
They do. I agree with that.
It wasn't
Why
3
didn't you
hours.
tell them
Pelosi,
sooner?
Nancy
I told them to be
Pelosi,
peaceful
and
and
the
not to
mayor are in
violate the
charge.
law.
I assume they were able to do their job. They weren't.
But
And
Pelosi's
it kicked
not in
in.
charge of
And if
Capitol
you remember,
What time did they get in the building? It was
video
2 o'clock, wasn't it?
Right outside the Oval
I don't remember the
Office in
exact time,
Rose
but
Garden. And I'm very
I don't know
proud
what they
of
were
that
expecting.
video.
Was he
I
supposed to
didn't have
wade
a
through the
script. I
crowd
don't need
and go up to
scripts
the
like
front?
this.
They're trying to
What
pin him to
happened
corner
in the
and
video? It
specifically
came out
say,
much
don't
later
leave the
than they
Capitol
already
when they
had.
think you should have. And I think that's dumb. He obviously called them to be peaceful. He said, don't violate the law.
Well, no one can even
And it
use
said,
social
I don't want to
media
read it all, but you have,
at the Capitol
you have to go home
because
now.
you couldn't get internet.
No.
We have to have peace.
So-
we have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people of law and order. We love the people
just
of
their
law
false
and order. We
narrative
can't
that
play
he
into the
did
hands of
something
these
he should
other
have done.
people.
And he's totally right.
We have
Nancy
to
Pelosi
have
did
peace.
not request
Please
Capitol
go home.
security.
1 p.m. is when the
There
barricades
is
were
no
breached.
order there,
They
Mr.
took that
President.
down, and you know, to this day, it hasn't been put up. And the reason
Trump was
it's
still
so
speaking on
good
stage when that
and so
happened.
conclusive that all of this nonsense and all
Yeah, he
of
should have that
tens
on
of
his
millions of
paper,
dollars
that
that
he
have
was
been
speaking
spent
when it happened.
are just wiped away with this one, and they've never put it back up. They had
And that's
another one
not.
that they
That's
did
when the
the
That video
barricades
that
were
you
broken
referenced
through.
earlier,
That's
it
not
was
when
Northeast barricades are breached at 1:57 p.m.
They breached the Capitol at 2 p.m.
video
At
was
2:30.
posted.
It means if he made that statement at 2:30, that's
right away.
right.
Before,
Yeah.
actually, a little bit before that.
Right, so that's my
Excuse
question.
me.
Because in that 3 hours, over
Excuse me,
140
it was
officers.
posted after
Where's her
the
3 hours
first
coming
one.
from?
That was
Lies.
the
She's not even
But I
citing
think
a
the reason
tweet.
the timeline is so critical here because
The timeline that she
going
won't
back to
stick
your
to.
influence, in
Here's
that
another
3
one I
hours,
posted.
over 140 officers were injured that day.
And a person named Ashley Babbitt was killed.
Yes.
You know what? She was killed, and she shouldn't have been killed. And that thug that killed her, there was no reason to shoot her.
They're gonna hit him about
blank
that.
range,
The
cold
word
blank
thug.
range. They shot her, and she was a good
He already
person.
read
She was a
Crazy
patriot.
Capitol
There was no
Police.
reason.
There.
There was no reason. And He went on television to brag about the fact that he killed her.
The officer was not bragging about the fact that he
Oh,
killed
he
her.
was
But one
bragging.
person who was at the
That's
Capitol
really
that day, as you know, was your vice president, Mike Pence, who says that you endangered his life on that day.
I don't
Do you
think he was in
feel,
any danger.
Mr. President, do you feel that you owe him an apology?
No, because he did something wrong.
The
He should have
Maury
put the
Show?
votes back to the
Yeah.
state legislatures, and I think we would have had a
So
different
we're 16 minutes in, and we're still on January 6th
He doesn't have the
election
authority to do
day.
that.
Yep. Because
How long is
it
this
hurts him.
scheduled for?
Does not have the ability
Hour and a half.
to
Hour and a half.
overturn
Let's have this one out just now because it's interesting. Let's keep it interesting, right?
And
I
he
like
is
Mike
better when
Pence
he's
very much. He's a very fine man.
interacting
He's a very nice man. He made a mistake. His lawyer said, you cannot move. I called him the human conveyor belt. I said, even if the votes, I talked to his lawyer, even if the votes are absolutely fraudulent, he can't. Yes, sir, he can't send it back. And the Democrats played it, and the rhinos played it. And then the election was over. They told him he couldn't do it. And Mike said to me, I can't do it. The lawyers told me I can't do it. They can't do it. But the lawyers were wrong, because right after the election, they all met, the rhinos and the Democrats, and they worked out a plan to make sure that future vice presidents don't do what I said you could do.
That's not what happened. You're referring to the Electoral Count Act.
That's
I've read that. There is no authority.
No,
Legal
excuse
experts,
me.
including Republican legal experts, say that he does
Is
not
this
have
a
that
town
authority.
hall or
But I want to
is it like a CNN debate?
I think it's a debate.
You can't do it.
They didn't change the law. They strengthened the law because
We've
they
got
were worried
one
about
question so
president.
far,
You
right?
can do it.
Also, with this expert
not what I
from
mean.
Caitlin, the CNN
They
girl.
strengthened the law.
Mike
but they
had the
were
right to
worried.
do it. They convinced him he didn't, and it was a horrible thing for our country. If you would have sent those votes back to Georgia, Pennsylvania, and other
He's
states,
right.
Wisconsin, which if you look
They
at Wisconsin,
did try to pass a law
virtually
that
admitted now that the election
stopped
was
him
rigged.
from
If
doing
they
it.
would have
They
sent
did
those
not
votes
admit that. Take away
back
their powers
to
after the
many
fact.
of those states, they would
Caitlin
not
says
come
you're
back
wrong.
in the
Oh, I'm sorry,
affirmative.
my bad. I
And
didn't realize.
remember what I said? And
I
you
bowed to
just
her
said it pretty
legal
much. You admitted what I
expertise.
said was right.
I
They
did
said he
not.
didn't have the right to do it. And he did have the right
He
to
should
do
just
it.
get
And
on a
that's why
hearse
they
stand, that
changed the
really
law, taking that right away.
He's already
I
kind
should
of
note that your campaign paid for
She's
a
already
referendum in
supposed to
Wisconsin. It
that.
actually
She's
had more votes for President Biden by the end of it. But I want to move on to Wayne Beyer. He's a retired attorney
the
from
last
Wisconsin.
word.
So
Moving
many
on.
illegal votes were cast in Wisconsin, and if you look in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, they had so many illegal votes, they didn't even know what to do with them. You're absolutely wrong
Mr.
about
President,
that.
there weren't any fraudulent votes in Wisconsin. I do want to get to the audience, though. We have questions for you from the audience.
Well, there
Wayne
weren't
Beyer
any?
is a retired
Come
attorney
on.
from North
Bill Barr said
Conway.
there were some,
He's
just not
previously
that
served in Republican
I just can't stand either
administrations.
of
He
those.
volunteered for the Republican Party in the 2022 midterms. He voted for you in 2020. What's your question for the President, Wayne?
Thank you for coming, Mr. President.
Thank you, Wayne.
My question to you is, will you pardon the January 6th rioters who were convicted of federal offenses?
I am inclined to pardon many of them. I can't say for every single one because a couple of them probably they got out of control.
fair.
But,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
when
fair.
you look at
I
Antifa,
like
what they've
that.
done to
This is
Fort
a trap
Worth,
question, but I think
you
it's a
look
fair
at
answer.
Antifa, look
Yeah.
at what they've done
So
to
far.
Minneapolis
I don't think
and
it's a bad question,
so many
honestly.
other places. Look at
Well,
what
they
did
want to
to
use the
Seattle
sound clip
and
in their
BLM.
commercials later
BLM. Many
play
people
to
were killed.
Democrats.
But I do think a
These
lot of
people, I'm
Republicans
not
want to know.
trying to
Oh, yeah, for sure.
justify anything. But you have two standards of justice in this country. And what they've done, and I love that question, because what they've done to so many people is nothing. And then what they've done to these people, they've persecuted these people. And yeah, my answer is I am most likely, if I get in, I will most likely, I would say it will be a large portion of them. You know, they did a very, and it'll be very early on. And they're living in hell right now.
So when it comes
they're
to
living in
pardons-
hell. And they're policemen, and they're firemen, and they're soldiers, and they're carpenters and electricians, and they're great people. Many of them are just great people.
Mr. President, one of the people who was convicted was a former policeman, but he was convicted of attacking a police officer, I should note. But when you said you are considering pardoning a large portion of those charged with crimes on January 6th, does that include the 4 Proud Boys members who were charged and convicted
Proud Boys
of
are back.
seditious conspiracy?
I don't know. I'd have to look at their case, but I will say in Washington, D.C., you cannot get a fair trial. You cannot. Just like in New York City, you can't get a fair trial.
He is correct.
Speaking of New York, I want to ask you about a significant verdict that was reached yesterday. I know this is something you want to weigh in on as well. A Manhattan jury found that you sexually abused the writer E. Jean Carroll and defamed her. You've denied this.
The audience is laughing.
Voters
Yeah.
say it disqualifies you from being president.
There aren't too many of them because my poll numbers just came out. They went up.
Oh, man. Caitlin big mad.
And the only person in history who had a charge like that, and usually you
the polls
leave
went up?
office, you say, I'm sorry, but I'm going back home. I'm back home to my family and everything. I'm going to be resigning. My poll numbers went up, and they went up with the other fake charge, too. Because what's happening is they're doing this for election interference. This woman, I don't know her. I never met her. I have no idea who she is.
my type.
I had a picture taken years ago with her and her husband, nice guy, John Johnson. He was a newscaster, very nice man. She called him an ape. Happens to be African-American. Called him an ape. The judge wouldn't allow us to put that in. Her dog, or her cat, was named Vagina. The judge wouldn't allow to put that in. All of these things. But with her, they could put in anything. Access,
This was
Hollywood.
a
put in
jury of
anything.
9 people who found you liable of sexual abuse. Do you think that will deter women from voting for you?
No, I don't think so, because I think
that
the
one
whole
juror's
thing.
listening tonight?
Just so you understand, ready? I never met this woman. I never saw this
It's a
woman.
little Bill Clinton.
This
You did
woman-
just say you took a picture with her,
I met
though.
at the front door of Bergdorf Goodman, which I rarely go into, other than for a couple of charities.
Yeah, you should clarify
I
that.
met her in the front door. She was about 60 years old. This is like 22, 23 years ago. I met her in the front door of Bergdorf Goodman. I was immediately attracted to her, and she was immediately attracted to me. And we had this great chemistry. We're walking into a crowded department store. We had this great chemistry. And a few minutes later, we end up in a room, a dressing room of Bergdorf Goodman, near the cash register. And then she found out there were locks on the door. So she said, I found one that was open. She found one. She learned this at trial. She found one that was open. What kind of a woman meets somebody and brings him up, and within minutes, you're playing hanky-panky in a dressing room, okay? I don't know if she was married then or not. John Johnson, I feel sorry for you, John Johnson.
Mr. President, can I I know you're recounting what she said, but Mr. President,
I know you're recounting what she said, but I don't like it.
This was a
Just so
jury,
you understand,
though.
if I was walking in, because I was very famous then, and I owned the Plaza Hotel right next door, and I owned buildings around it, I'm not going into
He's right.
Dressing room of a crowded department store. Then I say, if she was being raped, and by the way, they said she wasn't raped. Okay, that was her charge. It wasn't.
They found that you sexually abused her.
What? Say what? They did. They said he didn't rape her, and
They didn't
I didn't
say
do
he
anything
did.
else. Either.
Actually, they did. They ruled that wasn't true.
She is.
But Mr. President, can I
is the
ask
insane
you,
part.
given your
Yeah.
recounting
I
your
don't know who,
version?
and I tell you this.
But Mr.
Are you
President,
ready?
can I
and I
can I
spoke to my
ask you
children, which I'd never do. I have no idea who this woman. This is a fake story, made up story. We had a horrible Clinton-appointed judge. He was horrible. He allowed her to put everything in. He allowed us to put nothing in.
Mr. President,
There's no
you're
way
recounting your version of
story.
events
Trump
right
walked
now to the
around New York
audience.
by himself
You referenced the
without people
trial.
screaming,
You did
"It's
not go
Donald
to the
Trump."
trial and actually
Right.
testify.
It's
Do you
casually
wish
on a
you
very
would
good
testify?
man.
Wouldn't have made a difference. This
By
is
himself
a
walking
regular-
in. Nobody
this is
noticed.
My lawyer said, "Sir, you don't have to do it." I actually said, "I think I should. It would be respectful." They said, "Sir, don't do it. This is a fake story, and you don't want to give it credibility."
One
That's why I
thing
didn't go.
you did do in this.
And I swear, and I've never done that, and I swear to, I have no idea who the hell. She's a
Mr.
whack job.
President, you did not testify in person. In this
Donald Trump do this without her.
position of you from October, and you defended the comments that you made on that Access Hollywood tape about being able to grab women
going back to that
how you
again?
want. Do you stand by those
I'm not that
comments?
surprised.
I said, if you're
A little.
famous and rich or whatever I said, but I said, if you're a star, you are, and I said, women let you. I didn't say you grab. I said, women let. You know, you didn't use that word, but if you look, women let you. Now, they said, will you take that back? I said, look, for a million years, this is the way it's been. I want to be honest. This is the way it's been. I can take it back if you'd like to, but if you're a famous person, if you're a star, and I'm not referring to myself, I'm saying people that are famous, people that are
You were asked
stars,
in the deposition
people
if you
that are
consider
rich,
yourself to be a star,
people
you
that are
said yes.
powerful,
So?
they tend to do pretty well in a lot of different ways, okay? And you
CNN
would like
got
me to
him.
take that back? I
Got
can
him.
take it back
Reality
because it
TV
happens
star
to be
thinks he is
true.
a
I said
star.
it's been true for 1 million years, approximately 1 million years, perhaps a little bit longer than that.
So you stand by those
Well,
comments?
I don't want to lie.
Mr. President, we
here's
have a lot of
here's what you want
Mr.
me to say.
President, let's
A
get to
rich
the
and
audience
famous
questions
person
tonight.
has no advantage.
Caitlin, you're the one who
And I say, unfortunately,
Trump.
but that's the way it is.
He wants me to lie. A rich and famous
We
person
have
has
a
no
lot of
advantage.
audience questions to get to tonight. I want to go back to the audience. We've got Danielle Rieger. She works as an oral surgery assistant. She's a Republican activist from Derry. She was a New Hampshire delegate for you in 2020. What's her question?
Hi, thank you so much for coming to New Hampshire to answer our questions. My question is regarding the economy. Over the past 2
thank
years,
God.
we have seen the prices for everything skyrocket.
Danielle.
Something more
From food
important.
to gas to utilities and insurance costs, many people's bills are up several $100s a month, including mine. If elected president again, what is the first thing you would do to help bring down the cost to make things more affordable?
Something voters actually care
Drill,
about.
baby, drill.
Good answer.
We were energy independent. We were soon going to be energy dominant. And nobody had ever done what I did. We got oil down to $1.87. Actually, it fell lower than that in some cases. We had to save the oil companies that the price was getting. So we were doing incredibly. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country, probably the greatest economy in the history of the world. We were energy independent, soon to be energy dominant. We were going to be bigger than Russia and Saudi Arabia put together times 2. We have more liquid gold under our feet than any other nation. Any other nation. And these stupid fools ended it. And energy went from $1.87 and even lower for gasoline, for a car. They went from $1.87 to $5, $6, $7, $8, and even $9. And your electricity bills went through the roof, your heating bills went through the roof. And that's what started inflation. And it hasn't stopped because people are paying now for bacon and for eggs and for the 2 and 3 times what it was just a little while ago. We created the greatest economy in history. A big part of that economy was got you the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country, bigger than the Reagan cuts, bigger than any. And also, Caitlin, also, as you know, we got the biggest regulation and regulatory cuts. This place was rocking, and then we were given a gift from China, and China paid a big price. And let me tell you something. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes from China, but prior to COVID coming in, and then I rebuilt the economy again, a second time. But we had, prior to COVID coming in as from China, from Wuhan, which I said it came from Wuhan. Everybody said, oh, you're wrong about that. You're wrong. It came from Wuhan. I said it right from day one. So we had the greatest economy in the world. Here's the story. They made energy so high, and energy is all invasive. It is massive as an industry and as a cost. It lifted everything. If you made donuts, no matter what you did,
She just sounds like she's
we
whining.
had inflation, the likes of which I guess we haven't had
Why is she
for
debating
52 years, but I think more than that.
Because she doesn't know how to do anything.
Inflation.
Well, and that's why
We had the
CNN
lowest
put it there.
energy
Like, they
prices
use
we've had in
moderator as a loose
decades.
term.
This country was rocking and rolling. And by the way, we had the most secure
also has to
border in
probably
the
keep it
history of
on
our
time.
country.
This is why they
Keep saying that though. She's like, here are my points. Actually, we need to move on to questions from the audience.
Yeah, no, she's doing it conveniently for her.
Defaulting
She
on
does.
debt.
She's gonna-
There can be millions of jobs lost, people not getting their Social Security payments. People believe it would put the U.S. economy into a recession. On that topic, I want to bring in Marta Cervella, a student here at St. Anselm. She is an undeclared voter who did not vote in 2020. Marta, what's your question?
Hi, Mr. President.
Hi, thank you.
So my question is, what do you think about the United States' current
That's
debt
a good way to
situation,
learn
and
their
how can we move
patterns.
forward?
Such an important question. So we're at $33 trillion, a number that nobody ever thought possible. When we had our economy rocking and rolling just prior to COVID coming in, like literally, we were making a fortune. And oil, we were going to make so much money from oil, we were going to start paying off debt. But then with COVID coming in, we had to do other things. We had to keep this country alive because it was so serious. But we have to get the country back. We have to lower energy prices. We have to lower interest rates. Interest rates are through the roof. Energy has to come down. It all has to come down, and we have to start paying off debt. But when we have a debt limit, and they use that very seriously. I mean, they came in, Schumer came in with Nancy Pelosi, and they were using, we'll violate it, we'll do whatever. They talk a whole lot different than they do right now. I say to the Republicans out there, congressmen, senators, if they don't give you massive cuts, you're going to have to do a default.
Do it.
And I don't believe
Yes.
they're going to do a default because I think the Democrats will absolutely cave because you don't want to have that happen. But it's better than what we're doing right now because we're spending money like drunken sailors.
So just to be clear, Mr. President, you think the U.S. should default if the White House does not agree
like
to
they come in from being out and then they go out and like
because
party.
we'll do it later because we have to save this country. Our country is dying. Our country is being destroyed by stupid people, by very stupid people.
You said that using the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge just could not happen. You said that when you were in the Oval Office. So why is it different now that you're out of office?
Because now I'm not president.
He's taking it back. Trump's taking it back. His polling is going up. I can feel it. He's warming
The
up
U.S.
for
defaulting
sure.
would be massively
Well, you don't
consequential
know.
for everyone in this room, for all
You don't know.
Americans.
It's
You don't know. Get out of here, Caitlin.
more than anything else. And it could be very bad. It could be maybe nothing. Maybe you have a bad week or a bad day. But look, you have to cut your costs. We're spending $7 trillion on, much of it on nonsense. $7 trillion on nonsense.
We've got another
I actually
question
said,
for the voter
get
tonight.
all of that
I don't
money
wanna hear this
that was
anymore.
wasted, and frankly, the Senate should have never approved it. Get all that money that was wasted, and if they don't get rid of that, you'll have to default. Okay?
Mr.
You'll have to
President,
default.
we've got another voter here
And by
tonight.
the way, you're going to default eventually anyway, but it's going to be much messier. I don't think you'll have to default. I think if the Republicans hold strong and they say let's say we want $5 trillion off. I really think the
part of his
Democrats
good
have
strategy,
no
just
choice but
running
to
out of
do
much
it.
time on
And if
topics
I
he
win,
likes.
they're going to be doing the same thing to me in 2 years. I guarantee you that.
Mr.
They're going to
President,
very hard
we have
to
a
get, and they did that before.
Bobby
And he brought
Petrino
up
has been waiting very
first
patiently.
Yeah.
He's a student at St. Anselm. He's a member of College Republicans. He's an undeclared voter right now. He supported you in 2020. Bobby, what's your question for President Trump?
Hi, thank you for coming. This is a bit of a pivot, but with gun violence and mass shootings in the news cycle recently, I'm worried that state governments and the federal government are going to act to repress gun rights. Under your administration, you instructed the Department of Justice and ATF to ban bump stocks. If elected president again, how would you act not only to defend our Second Amendment rights, but to restore rights that have been taken from us by you, such as, by example, recently the ATF's ruling on the pistol stabilizing braces?
Yeah, as you know, the bump stocks are actually a very unimportant thing. And NRA, I went with them, and they said it doesn't mean anything. Or actually, all they do is teach you how to shoot very inaccurately. So we did that. There's been nobody that's protected the Second Amendment, as you know, like I have. I protected it through thick and thin. Not easy to do, but we have a very big mental health problem in this country. And again, it's not the gun that pulls the trigger; it's the person that pulls the trigger. And we have to protect our Second Amendment. We have to protect our Second Amendment.
Mr. President, you dealt with a lot of mass shootings when you were in office. This year, there have already been more than 200 mass shootings in 2023. If you are
That's not a
reelected,
real
are there
number.
any new gun
Not even
restrictions that you would
close.
sign into law?
I would do numerous things. For instance, schools. We would harden, very, very much harden. And I'm a very believer. I believe in teachers. I love teachers. I think they're incredible. And they love the children, not quite like the parents, but they love the children in many cases almost as much. Many of these teachers are soldiers, ex-soldiers, ex-policemen. They're people that really understand weapons. And you don't need 5% of the teachers would be more than you could ever have if you're going to hire security guards. But in addition to that, have security guards. You have to harden your entrances. You have to make schools safe. And you can make other places safe. But it is a big mental health problem in this country more than anything else. And remember, we have 700 million guns. 700 million. Many people, if they don't have a gun, they're not going to be very safe. I mean, if they don't have a gun, it gives them security. Now, you need them for entertainment, you need them for hunting, you need them for a lot of different things. But there are people that if they didn't have the privilege of having a gun in some form, many of them would not be alive today. You know, there's a certain country that had a very strict policy on guns, very, very strict.
Which country?
And, Brazil, okay. Brazil, very strict. And the former president of Brazil, and the killing was incredible. They were walking into people's homes and killing people. They had no protection. He said, go out and buy guns. People went out and bought guns, and it went way down. The numbers went way down because they had security. If you look at Chicago, Chicago has the single toughest gun policies in the nation. They are so tough you can't breathe. New York, too, and other places also. All of those places are the worst and most dangerous places. So that's not the answer.
No new restrictions that you would sign if reelected, Mr. President. I want you to meet Julie Miles, a registered nurse from Merrimack. She's a Republican who voted for you in 2020. Julie, what's your question for the president?
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate you answering this question this evening. How do you plan to appeal to women voters in New Hampshire who are concerned about the Dobbs decision and how states may change their laws?
It's such a great question, and it was such a great victory, and people are starting to understand it now. You know that they wanted to bring it back to the states, but that was probably the least important part of that victory. Getting rid of Roe v. Wade was an incredible thing for pro-life because it gave pro-life something to negotiate with. Pro-life had absolutely nothing being stuck in Roe v. Wade to negotiate with. And now what's happening, and I see it all over, deals are being made, deals are going to be made. And look, everybody that was president wanted to get rid and tried to get rid of Roe v. Wade.
You mean
for 50 years, Republicans. For
Really
50 years,
change it.
this has been
It goes
going
away
on.
if I
Actually,
just
Democrats
change
did.
a room.
But for 50 years, this has been going on. I was able to do it, and I was very honored to do it. But by doing it, things are happening that are very, very positive. And I happen to believe in the exceptions, life of the mother, rape, incest, like Ronald Reagan believed in the exceptions, but I happen to believe that. I think it's frankly important to do that, but a lot of people are, against that. A relatively small number. But the way I look, I think it's very important to say this. I consider the other side to be radical because the other side, under Roe v. Wade and other things, the other side, they're radical because they will. Remember the debate with Hillary Clinton? They said, rip the baby out of the womb at the end of the 9th month. They will kill the baby in the 9th month. If you look at that crazy governor of Virginia from the former governor, where he said, no, the baby will be born, and then we'll decide essentially whether or not to execute the
Mr.
baby.
President, can we talk about what you would do if
No,
you
it's
are
not the radical.
reelected?
It's not the pro-life people that are
But
radical.
if you are reelected and you're
I was
president
gonna say,
of
he needs to bring
office
that
and you
up,
get
and he
legislation
did.
to your
Nailed
desk,
it.
would you sign a federal abortion ban into law?
Tim's texting.
What I'll do is negotiate so
Tim's
that people are
texting
happy.
Trump.
But the fact
Good
that
job,
we were
buddy.
able, I'm so proud of it. We put 3 great justices on the Supreme Court. We have almost 300 federal judges on the Supreme Court.
So you, just to be clear, this
Question
Mr. President,
from
you
Caitlin, not
would
from the
sign a
audience.
federal abortion ban into
I
law.
said this. I want to do what's right, and we're looking, and we want to do what's right for everybody. vote.
what's right?
But now, for the first time, the people that are pro-life have negotiating capability, because you didn't have it before. They could kill the baby in the 9th month or after the baby was born. Now they won't be able
But
to
I
do
think
that.
this is a really important question for you to answer, because this is something every Republican, including those who are running against you for the nomination, are being asked about, is would you sign a federal abortion ban into law?
And many of them are going to give you the same answer as I am. First of all, I am honored to have done what I did. And a lot of people said, in 150 years, he's now the most consequential president because he saved so many lives. And I'm honored to have done it. And because of what I've done, we now have a great negotiating ability. That's what I do in life. I negotiate. We have a great negotiating ability, and I think we're going to be able to get
What do you mean
something done.
negotiating ability? Because the question that Republicans have, and some of your
They wanna
allies on Capitol
pigeonhole
Hill said they
and
want
get
to
him
introduce
on camera saying
legislation
that he
when it
wants to
comes to
ban it.
banning abortion. If they send it to your desk, would you sign it?
Some people are at 6 weeks. Some people are at 3 weeks,
Where's
2
President
weeks.
Trump?
There we go. Good answer.
President Trump is going to make a determination what he thinks is great for the country and what's fair for the country. But the fact that I was able to terminate Roe v. Wade after 50 years of trying, they worked for 50 years. I've never seen anything like it. They worked, and I was so honored to have done it. We are in a very good negotiating position right now, only because of what I was able to do. And remember this,
he's not going to.
again, you talk about radicalism. People that will kill a baby in the 9th month or the 8th month or the 7th month or after the baby is born, they're the radicals, not the pro-life.
I just want to give you. I just want to give you one more chance, though, because you did not answer whether you sign a federal abortion ban or how many weeks into pregnancy you believe abortion should be banned.
Yeah, but
Can you answer either
I've
of those
given you
tonight?
the answer probably 4 times already.
Which one
I'm
is it,
looking,
though?
I'm
You haven't
looking at a solution that's going to work. Very complex issue for the country. You have people on both sides of an issue, but we are now in a very strong position. Pro-life people are in a strong position to make a deal that's going to be good and going to be satisfactory for them. If you weren't able to get rid of, you wouldn't be having a discussion. If you weren't able to get rid of Roe v. Wade, which put pro-life in a dead position, a horrible position, they could kill the baby at any time they wanted to. But we did something that nobody thought was doable. And other Republican presidents and others, by the way, they wanted to get it out. They also wanted to bring it back to the states, but bringing it back to the states is a less important issue
But that's why
than
it's
the
the
issue that
question
we
about a
just talked
federal
about.
abortion ban. You did not say yes or no to that.
It
You did
depends,
not say how many
it depends
weeks.
what the deal is. Lindsey Graham,
You did not say how many
man,
weeks.
he's got an idea, and a lot of other people have an idea. And I look
It
forward
depends
to
on the deal.
it.
That's your answer.
I'll make the
She
right
needs to move
decision.
on. She's
President
terrible.
Trump, we've got more questions to come for you tonight.
Make
We'll be
the
right
right
back
decision for the
in just a moment.
Oh, look at that. We get a break.
I wonder, too, if
we
he
get a
knows.
break. That, I'm impressed so far. The beginning was a little slow, but I'm impressed with where we got so far. That was 40 minutes with no commercials, another new commercial. I guess they only got one commercial break or something.
And he must know how long this. I mean, that's one of the reasons he probably kept filibustering. so to speak.
With the abortion thing, I was like, he's got to hit at how these states are enacting restrictionless, outright abortion at 9 months, viability, all of that stuff, because most Americans find that completely unreasonable.
Right.
And then I think Trump's got some really great stuff going on where he's like, well, I'm not president. You know, like that was really good. He's like, when I was president, it was
I like
great.
his paper
I'm not-
pullout.
Yes, it was really good. It was good they had the timestamps, and she would not accept that she was wrong. I gotta say, what is she doing? It's crazy to me. When we had Lance from the Surfs on last week, and we did this a lot of people get mad. They're like, why wasn't, we had Destiny on? Why wasn't Tim drilling Destiny and going crazy? Because we're not debating. It's not a debate show. Half of the time. Like sometimes they'll say something that is wrong, and I'll be like, no, that's incorrect. You can't say that. Sometimes they'll be like, I believe X because of this reason, and I'll go, okay. Like you're allowed to have a moral position and an opinion. I can't be like, your opinion is wrong. I'm just like, oh, okay. And then what they try to do is they say like, oh, Tim got owned or whatever. No, this is the problem with the modern left, default liberals or leftists. Caitlin Collins thinks no matter what Trump says, she has to try and get him. Instead of saying, Trump, what's your thoughts on this? Thank you for telling us that. Next question. What are your thoughts on this? It's like, nope, you're wrong. Nope, you're wrong. Wrong.
Well, that's where she's coming from. She wants to get him. And like she's made it her personal mission to get him on every answer, and also to get that soundbite that they can put into every commercial for the next 2 years.
And for her own prowess, right? Like she is looking at this Washington Examiner article. There's speculation that they'll offer her Chris Cuomo spot, right? So she is trying to launch her career off of getting Trump to say the infamous soundbite. She wants that to be her moment. Like this is.
She wants her
I respect
Megyn
that,
Kelly.
right? She's in broadcast journalism.
She wants her Megyn Kelly moment.
She does.
That Megyn Kelly didn't even get.
Yeah.
Right. So
I don't know what they with this guy Lip guy sees in Caitlin Collins. I'm like, I can understand having her be a reporter, but giving her a show, then having her host a presidential town hall, it's just not there. Like Anderson Cooper, I get. Caitlin Collins, I don't get.
Well, and
Megyn Kelly is good. She did a great job with Trump. There are a lot of people I think could do way better than her.
I think there are. I think CNN thinks about the way its voters want to see Trump portrayed, right? And that makes sense. It's their channel. But I think conservative viewers tend to want a moderator who's going to keep the conversation going and who isn't there to just fact check. Whereas MSNBC, CNN tends to staff people who are there to fact check everyone involved in debates. And it becomes really. I had a professor when I was at SMU who did a study on this who said, you find that left-leaning mainstream media, they spend a lot of time saying, well, actually, that's not correct. Whereas when you're on Fox or a different network, it tends to be more just about making sure that you're hearing from enough people that are actually sort of holding the true position of a moderator.
Well, I think they also want to have a woman on there so that it can be this combative thing. They can say, oh, look at how dismissive he is of the moderator. She's asking all these really good questions and he won't answer them. And then he says mean things to her. And
holds up his finger.
Yeah, and holds up his finger. Like how dare you do that to him? You don't hold up your finger.
I just got ideas on watching these CNN commercials. We should run commercials on CNN.
Should be really
Finally.
Timcast IRL commercials.
They'd be pretty cheap.
I don't have
right
a
now,
key.
Yeah, I think they're like $8,000 for 30 seconds.
You know how with like NPR, if they're doing
Probably
a story
less.
on something, they have to occasionally say like, just in full transparency, Apple is a sponsor of NPR or whatever.
Yeah.
And CNN would have to be like, when they report on you, just to be clear, Tim Pool is a sponsor.
We're back.
Welcome back to CNN's Republican Presidential Town Hall with former President Donald Trump. Trump. President Trump, I'd like to meet
And
Jennifer
next
Simmons. She
President
is a
Trump.
stay-at-home mom and former town selectman from Wyndham. She's a Republican, and she voted for you in 2020. Jennifer, what's your question tonight?
She's very
Good
happy.
evening, Mr. President. Title 42 is expected to expire tomorrow. Our southern border and now our northern border are experiencing record migration. We learned on May 2nd that the Biden administration plans on deploying 1,500 troops to the southern border. Do you agree with deploying troops to the border, and how will a Trump administration slow down the rate of migrants coming across all our borders?
Sure. A very fair question, especially since tomorrow is going to be a day of infamy.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have tens of thousands of people pouring into our country. Even the judge, the judge overruled them when they wanted to terminate it early. And he said, that you better extend this thing. The judge in Texas said, I hope you're going to extend this. But this is my policy that they're letting terminate because they lost in court. They wanted to go earlier. You're going to have millions of people pouring into our country right now at a level that nobody's ever seen before. These people are sick. Anybody that wants this to happen to our country, they're destroying our country. And this should not be allowed to happen. How they're not going to do a version of Title 42 or my Title 42, which was tough. If people are sick and have infectious diseases and lots of other problems, we don't want them being into our country. We have enough problems right now. We have problems like we've never had in the history of our country.
But Mr. President,
our country is being destroyed.
The reason it's ending is because the health policy, the COVID-era pandemic emergency, is coming to an end. That's what Title 42 was. You put it in place because of COVID. When it comes to the questions about what your immigration policy would look like if you are reelected, some of your Republican rivals have criticized you for not fulfilling the promises that you made on the campaign trail, like finishing the border wall. So how did voters know that you would get those done if you're reelected?
I did finish the wall. I built a wall. I built hundreds of miles of wall, and I finished it. And then I said, we have to build some more because there are areas like water going through a dam. There are some areas where a lot of people are coming. You close up one, and they come into another. And we started another 100 miles of wall. In fact, I said to my people, if we start this and don't finish it, and then we had a rigged election, I'm sorry to say it.
The election was not rigged, Mr. President. You can't keep saying that all day long.
She can, and also, if she were really moderating, she would have gone back to the first question.
3 weeks. I built hundreds of miles of wall. If we didn't have it, it would be hard to believe it could be any worse. They're just letting people flow into our country.
Talk about immigration.
Look, a country has to have borders.
I think it is funny, though, that she has to keep saying it was not
There's never been anything like
rigged.
that is happening to our country.
You built about 52 miles of new wall when you were in office, Mr. President. It wasn't the complete wall. One other thing that with immigration, with your immigration, it was only about 52 miles of new wall.
This is what she does. I built hundreds of miles. Some of the wall was up there and would be laying on the ground, rusted rotten steel, rusted rotten wood, and what the radical left crazy Democrats did, if there's a piece of wood laying down, they consider that a wall. I built 30-foot walls that go down 7 feet into the ground. If there was a little piece of wood sitting in the ground, they said, oh, he's not building a wall. We already had a wall. Because this is the game. They're a party of disinformation.
It's not a game, Mr. President. It's about 52 miles of new wall.
Are you kidding
What other immigration policy?
Also, Caitlin, this woman asked about the troops at the border. Why are you not going back to that? Why are you
answer the question, and she's not making
laying
the question
down,
either.
that was up and rotting in the ground for 30 years. Some of it was steel that you couldn't
Mr.
even
President, it was
see.
only about 52 miles of new wall, but moving on, another immigration policy you had was the zero-tolerance immigration policy that separated families at the border. If you are reelected,
Caitlin
are
is
you
just
ruling
asking her
out
own questions. We're not going to talk about the troops.
But when you have
Fact
that
checker
policy,
Caitlin.
people don't come. If the family hears that they're going to be separated, they love their family. They don't come. So I know it sounds harsh, but if you remember they said I was building prisons for children. It turned out that it was Obama that was building.
Are you going to re-implement that if you're reelected? Is that what you're saying?
We have to save our country, all right? We
So it
can't
sounds like
afford,
that's a yes.
When you say to a family that if you come, we're going to break you up, they don't come. And we can't afford to have any more. Look at New York City. Look what's happening. They're living in Central Park in New York City. The city is being swamped. Los Angeles is being swamped. Iowa is being swamped. Our whole country is being destroyed. Millions of people are coming into our country. And you know what the number is going to be, in my opinion, by the end of the year? Not the 4 million that you hear and the 3 million. I think it's going to be 15 million people. And in these people, they have no idea where they come from. They come from 129 different countries so far. 120, not just the four that we
Just
talked
to put a button on that, it sounds like what you're saying is that you're not ruling out re-implementing that immigration policy. I want to get to another voter. Caitlin Bosco is a student here at St. Anselm College. She's a Republican. This will be the first election that she has voted in. What's her question for the President, Caitlin?
Hello, President Trump. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
The current administration has made it clear that we should continue to provide military equipment to Ukraine so that they can defend themselves. Do you support this decision, and how would you deal with the increasing threat posed by Vladimir Putin?
First of all, thank you very much. It's really nice. And it's an important question, so important, because we're giving away so much equipment. We don't have ammunition for ourselves right now. We don't have ammunition for ourselves. We're giving away so much. But here's the thing. I have to say it to start off, no longer matters. If I were president, this would have never happened. And even the Democrats admit that. Putin knew it would have never happened. And his pipeline would have never happened. A lot of things would have never happened. But this would never happen. And all those dead people, both Russian and Ukrainian, they wouldn't be dead today. And all those cities that are blown up and disintegrated right to the ground, that wouldn't have happened. Okay, now, here's the problem. We've given so far $171 billion. They've given, meaning European Union, which is approximately the same size altogether as our economy. They've given about 20. So we're at 170, let's say, and they're at 20. You don't have to know too much about history to realize, or geography, to realize that they're a little bit more affected than we are, okay? So they've got to put up a lot more money because they're taking advantage of us like every other country did. That's why I ended NAFTA and replaced it with the USMCA in Mexico.
But on this issue, Mr. President, I should know, I don't know any Democrats who have said they don't believe Putin would have invaded if you were president. But her question is, would you continue to give Ukraine money and weapons if you're elected?
No.
What's the
So she
answer?
remembers this girl's question, not the other
with President Zelensky because, as you know, he backed me up with a phony impeachment hoax number one when he said The president didn't do anything wrong. So
That was
I
when you
happened to
asked for an
like. So I
investigation
happened to
in
like. Yeah,
exchange
that's
for
right. And
weapons.
I was totally exonerated, by the way. Just a waste of time and money.
You were impeached over that.
Impeached does not mean convicted, Caitlin Collins.
No, Caitlin Collins doesn't need to know the details.
I was impeached by a crazy woman named Nancy
But the
Pelosi.
question is, you can give Ukraine weapons and funding if you were.
I would sit down. Let me just put it a nicer way. If I'm president, I will have that war settled in one day, 24 hours.
I agree. I think you're
How would
good
you
call.
settle that war in one day?
How will you do that?
Zelensky. They both have weaknesses and they both have strengths. And within 24 hours, that war will be settled. It'll be over. It'll be
Do
absolutely
you want
over.
Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking
Here. Yeah, that was good answer. Sharp, fast.
What do you? Can I just follow up on that? You said
one
you
of the
don't
things
think in
you have
terms
to
of
do is
winning
you
and
have to get
losing.
the- you have
Mr.
to get
President, can I
Europe.
just follow up on that because that's a really important
Excuse me, let me
statement
just
that you
follow
just made there. Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying.
Yes!
Dying. Russians
Not making yourself look good here.
Stop dying. And I'll have that done.
What team? What team are you on?
You need the power of the presidency to do it.
But you won't say that you want Ukraine to win.
Oh,
You
come
will.
You know what I'll say? I'll
Is
say
she
this.
gonna
I
say
want
that?
Europe to put up more money because they're in for 20 billion. We're in for 170, and
But
they
that's
should
not an
be,
answer about who
and they
should
should
win the war.
equalize. They have plenty of money.
Also-
They should equalize. I got with NATO.
I'm asking
I
you
sat down.
about
I got
Ukraine
them
right
to
now,
put up
Mr.
hundreds
President.
of billions of dollars that
need
they
to
weren't
sound
paying
like-
under Obama and Bush and all of these other presidents. That's why they're able to help them fight the war because of the money I got. But I
let's
want
talk about
Europe.
what's happening in
Excuse
Ukraine,
me.
Mr.
I want Europe to put up more money because they're laughing at us. They think we're a bunch of jerks. We're spending $170 billion for faraway land, and they're right next door to that land, and they're in for 20. I don't think so.
When it comes to what's happening there, when you were in office, you said that you respected President Putin. Do
Yeah, I
you still
do.
respect him today?
He made a tremendous mistake. He's a smart guy, you know. I remember I said he was smart, she was smart. They
What was
said,
his
he
mistake?
said President Xi of China, right? He's smart. Okay, 1.5 billion people. He's the ruler of 1.5 billion people. I said, yeah, he's a smart guy. How dare he say he's smart? Of course he's smart. They want you to say he's a stupid person. Okay, he's not a stupid person. He's very smart. He's very cunning. And Putin made a bad mistake, in my opinion.
What was his
It would've-
mistake?
His mistake was going in. He would have never gone in if I was president. We used to talk
I
about
agree.
it.
Do you believe that he is a war criminal? Do you believe that Putin is a war criminal? He's responsible for the deaths of thousands
Well,
of
I think
Ukrainian
this.
men
I
and
think it's
women
something
and
that
children.
should not be discussed now. It should be discussed later because right now we have to go to war. If you say he's a war criminal, it's going to be a lot tougher to make a deal to get this
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
Because if he's going to be a
Exactly
war
right.
criminal where people are going to go and grab him and execute him, he's going to fight a lot harder than he's fighting, you know, under the other circumstance. That's something to be discussed at a later date.
Isn't it
Right now,
important
we
to
want
call
to
it
get
what
that
it
war
is?
settled. And I'm not talking about the money either. I'm talking about
Why is
all the
Putin
lives that are being, the number of people being
on a
killed in
town
that war
hall
is far
debate?
greater
Yeah,
than
can't we
you
talk
hear.
about
When
domestic
they blow up
issues?
the city and those buildings come pouring down and then they say 2 people were injured. No, hundreds and thousands of people are being killed, and we have to get that war settled.
We have more with former President Trump. Right after this, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with questions from voters right after that.
I think the Ukraine thing is a domestic issue because we were 170 billion in.
Sure.
So I like the fact that they went there. I think he handled that really well, and I think she was looking to get him to say something stupid, and he stayed on point.
I think he hit it out of the park. Grand slam. Bases are loaded. Knocked it out. When she's like, "Do you want Ukraine to win?" When you
didn't
say
start
it,
off
everyone
too
stop
good,
dying.
though.
He nailed it. Exactly.
Absolutely.
You can't get him. They can't soundbite that because he's
No.
right.
And
That's
she looked horrible because she kept asking the same question after he answered it very succinctly.
She only
several
does that when
times.
she has a soundbite that she's trying
Do
to
you,
get.
do you think Putin's a war criminal? And then Trump nailed it. He's like, look, if we call him a war criminal, how are we going to negotiate an end of the war? He's going to say no. We're going to wait on that. In fact, the fact that she even brings it up on national television with as many viewers as watching is bad for trying to end the war. But you know what? They don't want the war to end. I bet a guy in her ear said, say Putin's a war criminal. Because we want it on TV.
Yeah.
We want Putin to think that if the war ends, he dies.
Yeah.
That way he never stops.
Yeah, and Putin and Trump had a strong rapport when he was in office. They want to try and make Trump an impossible choice if you want to end the war too. They want Putin to be against him.
Let me Mitchie Cool says, did y'all hear Collins call him Mr. President?
She has this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she also wants to hurt him with conservatives because if he's on Team Ukraine, that hurts him with lots of conservatives.
Before it comes back, I want to just address the election thing. When people, so as many people are pointing out, everybody wants to say that the election was rigged. If you're talking about the Democrats changed rules so they could get universal mail-in voting, they could go to nursing homes, they could ballot chase, ballot harvest, and all of these things that were deemed legal by the courts. I agree. I think it's shady. I think we should have one day of voting. This is why we should have reforms. We should have a day of voting. We should have voter ID. We should have paper ballots. I agree with all of that. But so if you're saying that's what you mean by rigged, I get it. And you had that article in Time Magazine. But what I'm trying to make sure we're not talking about is the idea that like China was sending fake ballots, that the machines were printing fake things or anything like that. I think the Democrats outplayed the Republicans heavily, exploiting COVID, and that's what got Biden these votes, and I've seen people do it. When Trump starts drifting into that, which people don't understand, and he's like, oh, it's all rigged, he's talking about the past. He's not talking about what you can expect from him. He's not telling the people what he's going to give you if you vote for him. And I think that's what they want to get. They want to push him in that direction because it hurts him in the polls.
Yeah. They spent the first 25 minutes really just talking about his character. It wasn't anything that really affects the people other than his character, and they spent the first 25 minutes on that.
They just ran a commercial for the town hall that's airing right now.
Yeah, while we're watching it.
While we were watching it, just ran. I just
Just
like,
in
wait,
case
what's
you were
going on?
wondering what's going on
I
tonight.
thought it was back. I was like, oh, is it back? No, it's a commercial for an hour ago.
It might be just online only though. I bet
Right.
right on TV they're not doing it.
No, it is on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to say, man, when Donald Trump came out and said we are going to start ballot harvesting, ballot chasing, that gave me hope because it's like he understands what they did. They wrote an article explaining what they did. People went to nursing homes and this is all legal. This is legally done. And they said, fill out your ballot. Do this, give it to me, sign me up as your caretaker, I'll drop it off for you. And there's a guy, I can't remember which state it was, it might have been Pennsylvania, where he was like, it's legal, you're allowed to do it, you are allowed to go to nursing homes. Republicans just did not do it. Democrats outground game them.
That's better.
They're about to come back on here.
Well, I don't know if that's
I mean,
momentarily.
I think that's been true of the Democratic Party for some time. They are good at working on the ground to get what they want. I think what bothers me about this whole thing is that the mainstream media, opinion writers already have submitted their pieces talking about how great Caitlyn is doing tonight. They will be out by midnight.
Yep. Here we go. We're back.
Welcome back to CNN's Republican Presidential Town Hall with former President Trump. President Trump, we have a lot more voters' questions, I should note, in here in New Hampshire to get to, but I also want to talk about some of the other investigations that you're facing. We talked about one of those is the special counsel's investigation into classified documents that were found at Mar-a-Lago. Why did you take those documents with you when you left the White House?
I had every right to under the Presidential Records Act. You have the Presidential Records Act. I was there, and I took what I took, and it gets declassified. Biden, on the other hand, he has 1,850 boxes. He had boxes sent to Chinatown, where they don't speak even English in that Chinatown we're talking about.
I got to stop you right there.
No, you don't. Shut
up. Just so you understand, I had every right to do it. I didn't make a secret of it. You know, the boxes were stationed outside of the White House. People were taking pictures of the GSA of the various people.
I got to stop you right there, though, because the Presidential Records Act, which is not well known to a lot of people, I read it. It does not say that you can take documents with you. It says actually that they are the property of the federal government.
It says you talk, you negotiate, you make a deal. It's not criminal, by the way. The Presidential Records Act is not criminal. And just so you know,
it's not that you can negotiate to take the documents with you.
Can I tell you? Just so you understand, the Presidential Records Act is not criminal. I took the documents I'm allowed to. You know who else took them? Obama took them. Nixon took them. Reagan took them.
Yes, he did. Obama did take documents.
Hillary took the furniture.
Reagan took them.
Says that President Obama
even Jimmy
did not
Carter,
take
even Mike
documents.
Pence had some documents, and he's a
You
very
referenced
honorable
Pence,
guy.
you referenced
But you know who
Biden.
took them more than anybody is Joe Biden. He has 1,800 boxes, and nobody even knows where they are.
Obama did take records. They were brought somewhere, and the media argued it was totally fine and legal the way he did it.
I think it's important, Mr. President, to
They're in
actually set the
Chicago,
record
I think.
straight here.
Something like that,
They took documents, including President or Vice President Pence. When they realized they had documents, they turned them back over. The difference is that you waited to turn yours over, and it was a year-and-a-half effort that included a subpoena with those documents. One question about what happened when you had those
on
documents.
my house. That's what it included.
But
They didn't raid.
you'd gotten a subpoena and they had not
Biden's
been
house.
turned over yet.
They didn't raid Biden's house. You know what happened? They put him in the house. That's the one with the Corvette, where the documents were laying all over the floor. That was fun.
You can see them.
You know who had
In the garage.
Secret Service, and they're phenomenal. I have Secret Service. He didn't have Secret Service. The other thing, the Vice President cannot declassify. He didn't have the right to declassify. He has documents from when he was a senator, and even Democrat senators say, "I can't believe it." No, I went by the Presidential Records Act,
That's not
and
what
we
the
were
Presidential
negotiating
Records
with
Act
NARA.
says. That's not what it says,
And
Mr.
NARA has
President.
red flags.
Mr. President.
Called the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights because they consider them
Mr. President,
dangerous
that's not what it
documents.
says,
Those are the people we're dealing
and I should note that there is a special counsel investigating your document situation, also President Biden's document situation. When it comes to your
part's true.
documents, did you ever show those classified
What
documents to
she knows.
anyone?
Not really. I would have the right to. By the way, they were
do you mean, not
declassified after.
really?
Not that I can think of. Let me just tell you, I have the absolute right to do whatever I want with them. I have the right. I was negotiating with NARA. Do you know what NARA is?
The National Archives.
Extremely
But you don't
left
negotiate
group
with
of
them.
people. Extremely left. And I was negotiating with
They're
them.
not
All of a
left,
sudden,
they're
they
bipartisan.
raided my house. They didn't
Speak to
raid
Caitlin.
the house of Joe
laughing?
Biden.
Yeah.
They didn't raid Obama.
Why are they
Didn't
standing?
ignore a subpoena to get those documents back
Joe
like you
Biden
did. And so
took
that's the question.
1,850
But
boxes.
that's the
Is she gonna
question
punch
that
him?
the question, I think, is why
Is Caitlin gonna punch him?
documents
It's
when
body
you
language,
knew
I'm sure.
the federal government
Wait,
was
how
sending
tall
them
is
and then
she?
giving you a subpoena to return
Shorter
them.
than he is, for
Are you
sure.
ready? Can I
Well,
talk?
yeah.
Yeah,
but
what's
then,
the answer?
Can I do mine?
I would like for you to answer the
Okay,
question.
it's very simple to
That's
answer.
why I asked it.
Except you're
It's very simple.
5'11".
You're a nasty person. I'll tell you.
Sounds good.
She's a nasty
Then
person.
why you held on to the documents?
I was negotiating, and
She's
we were
5'6",
talking to
according to
NARA. That's Washington.
How tall is Trump?
Bring whatever
She's
they
in
want.
heels,
They
though.
can have whatever they
I
want.
see, I see.
Yeah, yeah.
When we left Washington, we had the boxes lined up on the sidewalk outside for everybody. People are taking pictures of them. Everybody knew we were taking those boxes. And the GSA, the government service, the GSA was the one taking them. They brought them down to Mar-a-Lago. We were negotiating with NARA. All of a sudden, they raid our house. When Biden had his documents, he won't give back the 1,850 boxes. And you're going to find some real gems in there.
But it was
So
Biden
you
who
can't have
alerted
all
them that
these
he had
different
the
sets of-
documents.
all
The
these
National
different
Archives
sets
reached
of-
out to you to
Why
get
is
your
she
documents
arguing
back.
with
Why
him?
did you
Why
not
are we even
turn them
talking
over
about
when you
this?
got
Like,
a
I don't
subpoena?
understand why this is even a topic.
We were
Also, she
negotiating
keeps-
with them as per,
Cutting him off and saying, "We gotta
as
keep
per
from the
the
audience."
Presidential Records Act.
she's
We were
just-
She's not here to
negotiating with
moderate,
NARA.
move this
That's
along.
not
Very nice
what
She's here to make her own
people,
point.
but they gotta love our
They
Constitution.
gave her a
more,
couple
because they
things
shouldn't red
and
flag
said,
it, by the
make
way.
sure you
Very
get him to
nice
say
people. We were
something
negotiating
incriminating.
with NARA, and that's what the
this is a
Presidential
soundbite
Records Act
fishing
says. Because
expedition.
Richard Nixon, surprisingly, had problems, and he had a lot of problems dealing with NARA, and they ended up passing
that's why
legislation
they
called the
created the
Presidential
NARA.
Records Act, just for this kind of a thing. We were
My
dealing
last
with them. We
question
were
on this
talking. Excuse me,
on
wait a
this
minute, wait,
subject,
wait. We were talking to them. We would have
My
done
last
it,
question.
but all of a
No
sudden
one
they
from the
raided the house.
audience
Now, why hasn't the FBI raided Biden?
But I just explained to you why. It's because he told, they alerted the government that they had those documents and had them come and get the documents from his
Biden-
house.
you
My
didn't
question for you,
appear?
though, when it comes to
Are you here
documents,
to
do you
spin
still
for
have
the
any
Biden
classified
administration?
documents in your possession?
Are you ready?
Do you?
No, I don't have anything. I have no classified documents. And by the way, they become automatically declassified when I took them. But
No, you
why?
have to declassify
Let me
them.
ask you a
No,
question.
you don't.
Why is it that Biden had 9 boxes in
Just lie
China?
all the time.
Tim,
And he gets
she
a lot of
knows
money
what
from
she's
China.
talking about.
Why is
There's
it-
no process by which the president doesn't afford to declassify anything.
She is a legal scholar.
They put this
What
guy
you're
Jackson
referring to
Major in
is
journalism at
that
University of
he has
Alabama.
those.
Why did they put him in charge of that?
I need to stop you right there because there's no evidence of what you just said there. What you're referring
is
to there is an
staying
office that
pretty
he had
No,
after
that's
leaving
at the
the
University
vice
of Pennsylvania.
presidency.
Wrong.
He had a temporary office. But I want to ask about another
got a new
investigation.
wrong
You don't know the
for
subject.
internet.
I do know the
He
subject.
had one
and I
at
do know the
University of
facts, Mr.
Pennsylvania,
President.
but he also had
I want
9
to
boxes
the
in
investigation that
Chinatown.
you're facing, which is the one
She
that's
doesn't
happening
understand.
in Georgia, where they are investigating there your efforts to overturn the election results in the state of Georgia.
did
At the
nothing wrong. It was
center
a
of that,
perfect phone call.
let me finish my question. At the center of that is that call that you had with the Secretary
Perfect
of State,
call.
Brad Raffensperger.
Yeah, sure.
Given the fact that there are indictments expected to come in that case this summer, is that a call you would make again today?
Yeah, I called questioning the election. I thought it was a rigged election. I thought it had a lot of problems. I had I guess he's Secretary of State. I called. Listen to this. There are like 7 lawyers in the call, many of them from there. We're having a call. We're having a normal call. Nobody said, oh, gee, he shouldn't have said that. Why? If this call was bad, I questioned the election.
You
if
asked
this
him to
call
find
was
you
bad,
votes.
I didn't ask him to find anything. Let me
We've
just
heard
tell
the
you,
audio
if
tape,
this
Mr.
call
President.
was
There's an
bad,
audio of you asking him to
Factual
find
but not
you.
truthful.
you owe me votes because the election was rigged. That election was rigged. And if this call was bad, why didn't him and his lawyers hang up? How dare you say that? This was a perfect
Well, they were
phone
clearly
call.
concerned enough. They recorded the call, and I should note that, of
This
course,
was a call that was made to question the results of election. And when we can't make a call to question election results, then this country ought to just forget about it.
you weren't just questioning the election results.
I was
You were
questioning
asking
the
him to
election.
find you votes.
I disagree with Trump.
There is no evidence of fraud. There is no
But
rigged election.
you have to be able to call and have a rigged
Because those are false claims you're making about what happened in Georgia. Jordan Sullivan
he shouldn't have been answering the question at all, but like,
he voted for
that
you
was
in
probably the best way he
2020.
could.
Jordan, what is your question for President Trump?
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Thank you very much.
I'm 26. I'm a veteran. I help manage a private aviation company.
Here's
You
where
want
I
a job?
can get the magic.
Yeah.
I'm looking for somebody very good.
I'm not for mandates or government interference in private business, but I've seen Republicans going after us like DeSantis after Disney.
Right.
What would you do as president to protect us from government interference?
Well, I'm the one that really wants to protect you. All of these fake investigations of me are about election interference. They think because I'm leading Biden by 11 points, 7 points, 9 points, I'm leading DeSanctimonious by a lot, by 40 points or 45 points. I think you ought to
He's
just
really
relax and take it easy
sticking
and
with
think about
that
the future, because
nickname.
right now his future's not looking so good. I will tell you this. We are really putting it to Biden, but he's putting it to himself because the economy stinks, inflation is horrible, and the border is a disaster. And by the way he got out of Afghanistan was the single most embarrassing moment in the history of our country.
It was bad.
Mr. President, I have one more question for
But
you here tonight, and I
DeSanctimonious,
think
come on.
While we are in front
Not a fan of that,
and
that,
this is a fundamental
name,
question
no.
for you. You are running in the 2024 race. If you are the Republican nominee and you are in that 2024
swamp
race,
this is better.
will you commit tonight to accepting the results of the 2024 election?
Yeah, if I think it's an honest election, absolutely I would.
Will you commit to
knows how
accepting
he's
the
gonna
results of the
answer
election regardless of the outcome?
You want me to answer it again? If I think it's an honest election, I would be honored to. And right now, we are so far ahead of both Democrat and Republican. And you know what? If I don't win, this country's going to be in big trouble. It's so sad to see what's happening.
But no commitment there on the accepting the results regardless of the outcome.
If it's an honest election, correct, I will.
Okay, so not committing to accepting the 2024 election results or acknowledging what happened in 2020. President Trump, I want to thank you for coming here tonight. This is an important conversation with voters to hear and to have. Thank you to our audience and to our host, St. Anselm College. CNN's coverage continues with Anderson Cooper and Jake Tapper.
It certainly does not continue with us. I don't want to hear what those people have to
my
say.
goodness. Yeah.
Oh man,
Jake Tapper,
that
though.
was.
Look,
He's a cool guy.
Jake Tapper's so awesome.
The reason why she keeps going back to the election fraud stuff is because it polls very poorly with independent voters. That's where they need to strike. Donald Trump succeeded in 2016 by switching 9 million moderate-leaning Democrats to the Republican Party. Every time they get Trump to say it's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged, he is losing votes, and that's why they're doing it. That's why in the beginning of the show they went after him over and over and over again. And it is a large reason why I'm telling people, and I beg people, please stop. Like, whatever it is you think, the Democrats had a tremendous ground game, okay? They were able to find the votes, and you've got to counter it, Scott Pressler style. And you need to back off from it if you want to win the moderates over in this. Die-hard Trump supporters are falling into this trap, and CNN just showed you exactly how they do it. They know that Trump's biggest fans and biggest supporters are going to reject any notion that the election was anything. They know that if they come out and say it wasn't fraud, Trump supporters are going to come out and say yes, it was. And they're going to get him to say it over and over and over again to make as many sound bites as possible. And I would not be surprised if the next time they have a show, they're going to be like, how many times did Trump say rigged? And they're going to play it on repeat, and they're going to put it in the face of as many independents as possible. Instead of showing Trump saying things like, we need people to stop dying, which was a grand slam. That's why I'm like, guys, talk about the future. Who said talk about the future? Stop talking about the past.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you think that when it comes time for the Republican primary, the other Republicans will continue to bring this up because they know it hurts Trump?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Ron DeSantis comes out and says, you know, Democrats, they got universal mail-in voting. They were changing voting laws in their states. In some instances, like Pennsylvania, the Republicans were involved at things like Voter in the Park. And there are videos where state reps and judges are like, you are allowed to ballot harvest in the state. I think there's only a handful of states that actually explicitly ban it. It's illegal in many forms in many states, usually with some restrictions, where like you can only carry 3 at a time. And then you'll see videos like James O'Keefe had. Bill Barr said there was some fraud. She said there was none. She's wrong. Bill Barr said there was some, but not nearly enough. There's always a little bit. There were a bunch of federal prosecutions over voter fraud, sure, but I don't think it was in the tens of millions or significant enough to have as big of an impact as people want. I think what people are thinking of when they say rigged is that Democrats changed the rules. Anyway, I don't even want to get wrapped up in this.
They changed the rules, but sometimes they didn't abide by the rules at all. Like in Pennsylvania, they did things that were actually illegal for them to do, and they didn't have the authority to do it. Changing the laws on
the universal mail-in vote.
Like,
well, so a judge. So here's the issue. The lower court said you can't change this law without going to a newspaper and getting a constitutional amendment. Right. And then everyone was like, wow, the lower courts are agreeing with the Republicans. The problem is the Republicans actually worked with the Democrats to pass that law. So when it went to the Supreme Court, they were like, no, this was done by both parties, and now one party's coming out after the fact. So I think it's all partisan. I think when you look at what's going on in New York, you can see it's pure tribalism. But I think you can just see very obviously why CNN kept asking that question.
Oh, absolutely.
They want the soundbite because it hurts Republicans. And when I hear him say that over and over again and he won't let it go, and they know they can get him on it, I'm like, I see DeSantis going up. And I like Trump's answer on the war. I think it's important. But let's do this. We're gonna jump to this story. Maybe the last story before we go to Super Chats. Ladies and gentlemen, we made the news. In Trump's trial, a secret fight over a juror's right-wing news source. I love this because this proves to all of you it's a cult. Check it out. They say, E. Jean Carroll's lawyers tried to exclude the man who listened to podcasts by the provocateur Tim Pool. He remained on the jury that found the ex-president liable.
Provocateur is a great word.
Provocateur.
Yeah, I like that.
What do I do? They call Milo Yiannopoulos a provocateur. Well, he goes out, he gives speeches. Do I ever leave this building? Do I make phone calls to anybody? Do I contact members of Congress? Or do I just sit here and have conversations with people?
The
To see how
Zini is
desperate
very
they are.
provocative.
It is.
I have to say.
And
It's-
evocative.
Both of those. Both
That's right.
evocatives.
Take a look at this. The juror was a 31-year-old man who said he lived in the Bronx for all his life. During jury selection, he said that he tended to avoid news but listened to independent podcasts every now and then, and listed one example. The original transcript inaccurately captured the podcast's title as Temple. But lawyers from Mascarroll, the writer who filed the lawsuit, according to accusing Mr. Trump of rape, later learned through news reports that the anonymous juror identified only as Juror 77 had actually said he listens to Tim Pool. Here's the best part. You guys ready for this? Mr. Pool's YouTube channel includes dozens of recordings that push hard right views. His podcast, which has been criticized as a vector for conspiracy theories, is called The Culture War. Well, hold on there a minute. The Culture War is a news show that hasn't been accused of anything. It's never been in the news.
Right.
It's only been around for about 2 months.
11 episodes.
That's fake news. And I wonder if that's actually defamatory in that you can argue things about Timcast IRL, the show y'all are watching now. It's been around for years and has been in the news several times. But the Culture War hasn't been.
No, not
the
at all.
Culture War podcast hasn't been covered by anyone, and I'm surprised they even found it. You know what they did? They searched for Tim Pool podcast and found the Culture War podcast with Tim Pool, which is a new show which has very little viewership relative to this show or even Timcast News.
It's a vector.
A vector.
That's why they said dozens of recordings. Like IRL
Absolutely.
has a bit more than dozens.
Yeah, I think IRL has like 2,000 or something like that. And then the Culture War has like 25.
And the morning videos that you do. I mean, you put out a dozen morning videos.
5 videos a day
Right.
on Timcast News. And there's like 3,000 videos.
Also, they don't even mention that you worked for Vice. Like, you're such a lefty on so many other issues. They're like, this far-right guy.
Yeah, you would imagine New York Times would do a little bit more research and have figured that out.
I know you wouldn't. Check this out. It says, during the confidential questioning, Juror 77 said that Mr. Pool, quote, is like middle, adding that the podcaster gets different political figures or just celebrities like that on the left, on the right. Juror 77 also described the podcast as balanced. Do you know why he watched this show, probably? Because we had like a run-of-the-mill celebrity on the show one time.
Right.
This is a guy who apparently said that he's only seen a few episodes, and it may be because we've had musicians, we've had people like Ethan Suplee on the show, an actor, and we just talked about, you know, moderate political issues. We have had people who are totally apolitical who struggle to even talk. We have scientists, doctors, but they don't know anything about it.
This is the first show that I've ever watched of yours.
Yeah.
So
the one you're on.
Yeah, the one I'm on.
There you go.
Welcome.
He said that he'd been doing doubles at work and listened to Mr. Pool's show 3 or 4 times in the past 6 months. Said he never had heard of Miss Carroll and was confident he could be fair to both sides. Here's a guy who actually said Trump is liable for sexual abuse, not rape, after almost 30 years. That's amazing. And they're like, that's a fan of Tim Pool who should be removed from the jury. Here's what they said. Look at this. A lawyer from Miss Carroll said that the juror appeared to get his news from a single, really virulently extremist podcast. It's amazing that I can sit here being like, Trump is wrong about the fraud narrative, and I'm pro-choice, and they're like, he's an extremist. But you see what they're trying to do? 2 things. They want to create a bifurcation between me and regular people because they don't want regular people to hear honest commentary from honest people. And, well, I mean, I'll leave it at that. That's basically it. To defame and to push people away. So those are the 2 things, I guess.
So he wasn't dismissed.
No. And then he actually sided with them.
Right. And what's the story here then?
I don't know.
Why is it? I'm curious why this is actually a story.
Why is it that they ran that story about the Allen, Texas shooter who posted 4 clips of me, and then in the same week, they're like a right-wing extremist news source? There's no news here. The guy said he listened to the show 3 or 4 times, and that was the end of it. They didn't dismiss him, and then he sided with them. Why is the New York Times, Politico, the Daily Beast, whoever else, they're all writing this up?
Because they're afraid of you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's because you take their audience, and also you actually do have a lot of moderate views, unlike both mainstream Fox News and all the mainstream left-wing publications. Like, that's just how it is.
That's got to be it, because there's no other reason to say, oh, did you know there was a juror that wasn't dismissed, but he admitted that he watched this show 4 times?
And people are like,
4
people
times.
who weren't aware of you or IRL already have heard your name probably because of the Allen, Texas stuff. So New York Times is jumping on this bandwagon that I think they often look at. I mean, because it's not the first time you've trended. I think people want this show to be something more extreme so they can shun it. They want you to have, every time they Google your name, they want far-right extremist, terrible person to come up.
But it doesn't work.
It doesn't work because you do the show every night and prove them wrong.
They definitely turned Bandcamp off to you.
Well, Bandcamp spreading defamation or something like that, but there's a cult. They're extremists. And the people who watch this show probably already agree with me when we say these people are in a cult. Because you can have a leftist, like Lance from the Surfs on the show, overtly say he's pro-abortion at any time, for any period, for any reason. Matt Binder, a leftist, say the exact same thing. Sitting next to Seamus Coughlin, a Catholic conservative, pro-lifer who wants abortion banned outright, and me, saying, well, I think there should be some restrictions, but maybe only after viability, which is the middle. And the person on the left says, you're all far right. Like, if my opinion, and you know, is the average opinion based on polling, then what are they talking about? They're just lying. That's what they do. They lie. And I'm partly grateful because this makes it easy to prove they're lying. That's it.
Is there anybody else that has as many diverse people on their podcast as you do?
I mean,
there's
probably
very few, right?
Well, I think Patrick Bet David has way more people across the
Because what they
spectrum.
really want to do
'Cause
is
he's more
silence everybody, not just you, but silence everybody that you would ever have on, and make sure they can put those people into a box.
Right.
And because CNN's never going to have those people on. Fox News won't have them on either.
Fox News won't have people on who they're afraid of are associated with people, even if that person has never
like
done it to
2 layers
themselves.
deep.
Yeah.
They'll be like, yeah, you went to this one party with this guy, you know, whatever.
I think there's actually Politico wrote up an even bigger story. saying there was inferred bias or whatever. Tim Pool, a far-right pro-Trump commentator who has aligned himself with figures like Steve Bannon. What does that mean, aligned himself with people like Steve Bannon?
It means you talked to him one time and you didn't scream in his face.
We on the show, the members-only show, we argued about the fraud narrative, and I told him to his face he was wrong. Yep. And I said Trump was unelected. He was anti-elected. People voted against him, and we went in this long thing, and he was like, well, that's an interesting point. And I think he's been on the show twice.
Yeah.
What is this?
You're not allowed to platform him at all.
You're not allowed to talk to people.
No talking to other people.
It's the association game. Associate him with someone that most people dislike. So make those associations, and like we can then create a box around these people who make commentary with some sense.
Exactly.
When I think of you, the first thing I think of is not he's pro-Trump. Now,
most people don't.
Yeah, like now me, I think it's fair if somebody says that they think of me as pro-Trump, because like all I did was make memes about Trump. But for them to call you the pro-Trump extremist is just hilarious. It doesn't fit at all.
They're debunking themselves, especially when we have like Luke Rudkowski on this show for like 7 months at a time, and people say he has Trump derangement syndrome. Or Ian Crossland, who says some of like the craziest leftist stuff half the time, and then rolls 20s the other half. Like it's look, for legal reasons, I'll say this is besmirching my good name, and I am concerned about reputational damage, which we'll be pursuing. But part of me is like, okay, dude, make me more famous. My name's all over the press now, and people are wondering what this is all about.
Yeah.
I love the New York Times writing about the culture war. Great, we need press.
Because you weren't going to get in there if it wasn't bad press, which all press is good press in what manner.
I mean, I don't even know if it's even bad press. We'll see. I don't know. And they always tell you, like, you get into a car accident, don't say you're fine because you don't actually know what injuries you might have. And there's so many stories where someone gets like T-boned and they're like, well, I feel okay, I think we're good. And then a year later, like, actually in that accident, you chipped the bone and now you need like a $10,000 surgery or $100,000 surgery. So it's like, we'll see, maybe, But we sponsor ourselves. We're building our own companies. We are member supported. I'm not worried about companies dropping us in terms of sponsorships. I'm not worried about it at all. And now with Twitter, Rumble, competing with YouTube, I'm not worried about YouTube either. There's nothing they can do. They've lost. The things they've said, like when Keith Olbermann's tweeting at me and like this Alan Texas thing comes up, I'm like, literally don't care what these people think at all. There's no concern I have. None. We have built infrastructure. We are building infrastructure. Rumble is building infrastructure. Elon Musk is building infrastructure. What do we have to be worried about at this point? Say whatever stupid garbage, fine. We'll sue you if it's defamatory, and you'll lose. True. And it has no impact.
Did Keith come out of retirement to attack you?
He retired?
He's retired like 4 times from Twitter.
Wow. He retires a lot, I guess. Let's do one more story. Where are we at? Here we go. This one's big, ladies and gentlemen. Bud Light's hangover from hell. Sales figures for America's once favorite beer reveal how every region in the U.S. has turned its back since the Dylan Mulvaney tie-up. Check this out. In every region, Bud Light sales are plunging. So in the East, North, Central, is that what they called it? East, North, Central, which is like Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Wisconsin, Michigan, 23.5%. In the East, South Central, it's 25%. In West, North Central, 25%. In the mountain region, it's negative 29%. Everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Wow.
I saw this story earlier today that gay bars in Chicago aren't buying Bud Light because
they're boycotting it.
Because they're also boycotting because the brand didn't stand behind Dylan Mulvaney enough. Like they can't win. They have really shot themselves in both feet. Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
This is great. We're winning. So, for those that didn't hear, we were talking about in the previous segment, just about how the New York Times and Politico are smearing my good name and lying about this show. I don't know how much it matters. They have no influence anymore. I go out and people smile and wave, shake my hand, take pictures with me. People who watch the show, these are urban centers. This is what I think they're really afraid of. They were in New York City, and an urban liberal New York City guy says, oh yeah, listen to Tim Pool's podcast, and they're like, oh crap.
Yeah.
We're losing urban liberals. That's a problem.
Well, and they'll be losing liberals in New York City way faster if they don't get it turned around soon, because New York City is just absolute garbage.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying, everybody. With this story about Bud Light losing again and again and again, it's been over a month. It was April 1st that Dylan Mulvaney did this TikTok, and now, May 10th, Anheuser-Busch is still spiraling because of this. So keep it up. I think we're winning.
I think that the Bud Light decision, right next to firing Tucker, is probably one of the dumbest business decisions anybody has ever made.
Well, they tried claiming it was a third-party company that did it. And they're like, oh, we don't know, it was a third-party company that did it.
Yeah.
But apparently, there was one writer for the Washington Post who said that Bud Light is a cash cow that's never going to grow. It is basically generic. At this point, it is so ubiquitous, it's just synonymous with beer. Take the money, accept it. But they bring in some young VP of marketing who's like, I'm going to grow this brand. Tries to find a new demographic and then nukes it into oblivion.
She wanted to shed the fratty image, she said on one podcast.
It's interesting the demographic that they chose, and I'm just talking about the age.
15-year-olds?
I've heard Ian talk about that a lot. It's just like, if you look at the actual age group, like what exactly were they after there? And have they said anything about that?
Teens,
No, they're not going to. I mean, that's the thing. It reminds me of, didn't cigarette companies get in trouble at one point because they were advertising like on children's toys or whatever?
Well, no, they had the Camel. Joe Camel was
Oh, Joe Camel, it was too nice, yeah. And then they had to modify their branding. I think with Bud Light, they didn't think about the audience in the consequences. They only thought, we can capture young drinkers. Maybe they aren't drinking. Maybe when they go to drink, they will start drinking Bud Light. They didn't think about the fact that it's completely inappropriate for a lot of reasons, and they only put themselves and their own ideology first.
I thought it was funny, this Washington Post writer said, the confusing thing about the campaign was Dylan Mulvaney's faux Audrey Hepburn act caters to no one. It's like Dylan Mulvaney's audience are all under 21, so they're not buying beer, and then the rest of the audience is over 50 and they're drinking wine. So what was Bud Light thinking? And then Bud Light, of course, like, no, it was a third party. So now here's the best part. Yeah, you mentioned, I think it's up to 6 gay bars? Yeah. 5 or 6 in Chicago are boycotting Anheuser-Busch outright because Anheuser-Busch won't give them political influence. Now think about that. The right just says, leave us alone. The left says, give us what we want or else. Stop pandering to these people. They're going to make your life miserable. But you know what? We're winning. So
no, not to play devil's advocate, but how is the rest of Anheuser-Busch doing? Like, because they have like there's so many other products that like
overall globally, Anheuser-Busch, I think they said it was like around 1% decline in general sales.
When this
but we're talking about American cultural influence. If Anheuser-Busch says we're abandoning U.S. markets with Bud Light because it's a failed brand, we won.
Yeah.
I think we won already at this point.
No Clydesdale is going to save it.
Yeah, seriously. That was such a tone-deaf response, too.
It'll be a donkey in a dress.
Wasn't that what set Rogan off? Was the Clydesdale, the pandering?
Yeah, but here's a story we have from Timcast News. Bud Light boycott is spreading to other Anheuser-Busch brands. Company may be in a no-win situation as gay bars are ditching Anheuser-Busch beer. See, what's happened now is, because these gay bars are upset with Anheuser-Busch as a brand, it's not even about Bud Light to them, it's about all of the brands they do sell.
And conservatives too, right? They were all like, I saw all these graphics of like, don't drink Modelo, here are the other ones, just so you know. I mean,
because it's like Biv or something like that.
InBev or something.
InBev.
Yeah.
And it's a bummer because Modelo is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I think Serge was mourning that loss.
Yep, I am sad about that.
But it is interesting that it was a boycott that was effective partially because people were already aware of what else was under the umbrella, right? Like if you boycotted, I don't know, a shoe company, right? If they own 4 other shoe companies, you're not really hurting them. Whereas people were able to identify, oh, these are all Bud Light.
Wow, look at this. So we know that Miller and Coors are way up, like 20%, right? St. Louis Business Journal says Budweiser is down 11.4. That's not Bud Light, it's Budweiser.
Every time
Michelob
I get
Ultra
hit.
down 4.4. Busch Light 1.8, and Natty Light 5.2. So it is hitting their other brands.
Yeah.
So hey, good job, everybody. This warrants a round of drinks. Does anybody have any? Oh wait, it was funny when Lance from the Surface here, he brought a Bud Light Tall Boy.
Yeah.
And he waited till the after show. I was like, bro, why don't you crack that thing open on the show? Like it was funny.
See, he's not willing to commit to the bet. He's sort of in the boycott.
Yeah. You don't want everybody to see that he had a Bud Light. You don't want anyone to think that he was effeminate or anything like this.
How long do you think the boycott will last?
I think they're done. I think I'm seeing people online. There was one story in Newsweek where a couple got attacked, and they say it was because they were buying Bud Light, and the person they got into a fight over it or something like that. I'm like,
they were attacked at a liquor store.
Yeah. Because somebody started making fun of them over buying Bud Light, and then they started yelling at each other. But
alcohol was involved.
Bud Light, brand is everything, and Bud Light is synonymous with being a homosexual. I am not saying that to be mean or funny or derisive. I am saying that as a fact marketing statement. That if you, because of Dylan Mulvaney's notoriety and the backlash, it is now perceivably associating you with being a homosexual. There was a video where a cast members from the Book of Mormon crack beers in like Times Square or something and say, "Hey Dylan, like thank you so much, Bud Light, woo!" They drink it, and I'm like, that was the last thing Bud Light wanted to happen because they're hammering the nail into the coffin that if you drink Bud Light, you are likely an effeminate homosexual man.
You're homosexual, but you're not enough of an ally. That's why the gay bars won't bring by beer.
But I'm not sure that matters. I mean, look, if you're some like 38-year-old dude, 40-year-old dude at a ball game, do you want to be the one person? There's a viral video from Fenway Park where nobody would buy Bud Light. Because do you want to walk up to a chick and be like, "Hey, want a Bud Light?" And she'll be like, "Are you gay?" No. And again, I'm not saying to be derisive. I'm saying the brand has associated itself with that because of the hyperpartisan nature of the sales of this beer. You will be perceived as being a supporter of LGBT groups, as left-wing or as a gay man yourself if you're drinking the beer. There's a political association now with it.
I feel like the only real save for them is to simply be honest. Be honest with what the whole tactic was and maybe issue an apology. But it kind of feels like after you were saying that, it just made me feel like, well, a tactic that you could potentially imagine is now you could say that you're discriminating, and if you boycott and discriminate against Bud Light, you are this, you are homophobic, you're transphobic, you're a white supremacist.
Bud Light does not want that because that just pushes them to one market. It may now be the case that Bud Light's only opportunity is to pander to the left. But then they lose all their market share, they have to double down. If they came out right away and just said, "We're really sorry about this campaign, we didn't realize it would be so divisive, please accept our apologies," and they just did that, I'd imagine sales would have recovered right away. But I'm telling you, I've been in these corporate executive offices during PR crises, and I know exactly what these people say. They say, "Listen, the people who buy your product are dumb as a box of rocks. They'll forget all about it. Just shut your mouth. PR 101, do not add fuel to the fire." And Bud Light, Budweiser, and Anheuser-Busch said, "Okay," and they ignored it, and it festered and got worse. Then someone said, "Okay, well, we got to do something now." Then they put out that Clydesdale commercial, which just made everything worse. They refuse to apologize, and they don't realize the people who drink their beer, people these days, they're networked. We're hooked in. We're not forgetting about this. And now it's got to the point where someone mentioned on Twitter, Babylon B wrote a joke. It said, "Guys drinking Cosmos at bar make fun of dude drinking Bud Light," or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the perception of you when you go to a bar and buy a Bud Light, that you are like an effeminate man or gay or something. Yep. And guys, they don't want to be perceived that way, especially when they're trying to pick up chicks. Could you imagine being at a bar and then being like, "Ooh, there's some beautiful women over there. I'm not gonna get a Bud Light. Give me an Old English. Give me a Guinness.
You need a
I want
Yingling
to look
stat.
strong. Yeah, I want to look strong." You get a Yingling and go, "Hey, ladies, did you know that Yingling is the oldest brewery in America?" And they're like, "Oh, wow, that's so impressive. Your knowledge is impressed me so much. Would you like to join us?" And you're like, "That's right." But if you walk over with a Bud Light, they're going to be like, "I always wanted a gay best friend." And you're going to be like, "Oh, no.
Those are the two choices. You can make one. I am curious to see what happens with the people working at Bud Light, because obviously if they have a downturn in business, I can only assume that layoffs come. I also imagine that the people who actually work in their factories or the breweries or whatever, they didn't get consulted for this move, and now their livelihoods are at risk because of one Harvard grad marketing executive, and that seems pretty terrible to me.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, what officially happened with the CEO? Let go?
Of what?
They're all on
the
leave.
marketing.
Two marketing people are placed on leave.
That's what it was.
We're going to go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends if you really do like it, because, boy, they really don't like us. Head over to timcast.com, become a member, and let me take this opportunity to use the negative press against us as a shameless call-out and call to action. If you want to help stick it to the liars in the corporate press who would besmirch our good name and a show that you enjoy, go to timcast.com, click join us, become a member, and then we win. We win, they lose, they decay, cease to exist, and then in 100 years, we'll be writing their obituary. And we're going to have a members-only show coming up at 10 p.m. We're going to have call-ins from the audience, so you guys can even call into the show. Let's read. Voice of the People says, Tim, Google E. Jean Carroll, Juror 77, and read the political article. They tried to get rid of that juror because he listens to you. Robert Gouveia covered that today. You should bring him on sometime. Spoke with him before. We don't know who the juror is, but he's clearly not a supporter of Trump.
Or do they mean Robert Gouveia? That's what we want on.
Right, I know.
Okay.
I'm saying as for this individual, this juror, we don't know who he is. And I'll say I don't know what evidence he saw in trial that made him think Trump was liable for this, but it seems insane to me. I think the reality is it was probably like what was that movie where all the jurors are in the room and the one guy, they're like, he's all
12 Angry Men.
12 Angry Men. Yeah, it was like that. The one guy's like, I don't know, man. I watched Timcast. I'm a reasonable person. I think Trump's not liable. And then they just like,
I feel like it had to be like a technicality, like
Right.
the law was written in such a way that there was no way to not convict, like that they didn't.
Yep.
Yeah, it had to be a really, really poorly written.
Yeah, he didn't get convicted of sexual abuse. He got convicted of being liable for sexual abuse.
Right. They said if you think that Trump was physically present, then he's responsible or something. But you know what? I'm just gonna say this: there is no way Donald Trump walked into the Bergdorf without people being like, "Mr. Trump," and people being like, "Oh, it's Donald Trump." Oh man, wow. It's like, dude. So I like to hang out at like MGM National Harbor or Maryland Live or whatever, and every single time people are like, "Hey, Tim Pool, man, fist bump." I'm like, "Hey, nice to meet you. What's your name, Jim? Nice to meet you, man. Appreciate it." Nonstop. And I am nothing compared to I am an ant. I am a zit on the ass of a mosquito compared to Donald Trump. Even in the 90s, we're talking about one of the most famous people in the world with his name on a building, and you think he's gonna walk into the Bergdorf and nobody noticed. Yeah. Nobody noticed he was there. Incredible.
I liked his, and I own the plaza across
I know,
the street.
right. And he's walking around with no security. No. Donald Trump isn't even walking around. He's getting in cars. He has security detail. People are opening the door for him. So when he walks into the Bergdorf with like 10 staff members, he's like, "Where's the lady? Her? Oh, ma'am, come this way. Staff, follow me. We're going to the dressing room." Get out of here. This is insane.
Right.
Absolutely ridiculous story. Yeah. All right. Matt H says, "Seriously, Tim, check out Humankind. It's better than Civilization." I'll take a look.
Yeah, I've heard that's good.
Goldilocks Production says, "Tim, I gotta call you out. Nazi Germany was not fascist. That was Italy. They were National Socialist. Fascism, National Socialist, Communist, and Marxist all fall under left-wing socialism. Learn history, watch Tiki history to learn more about this." I understand I've read about the National Socialist policies. So basically, there's many ways you can bring it down. National Socialism was not... people will call themselves things that they're not. Antifa says that they're anti-fascist when they're like authoritarian psychopaths. So I guess you can argue that Antifa, the original anti-fascist action, was the militant wing of the Communist Party in Weimar Germany, so I get that. But the thing about National Socialists, fascists, etc., is that these were considered the right because they were traditionalist, and the Communists were ultra-progressive. The Communists wanted to purge history. The right, the various factions, wanted to preserve tradition and history, and that was the principal difference between two overtly authoritarian factions, which went on to brutally murder millions of people. What did the Communists murder? 100 million or something?
100 million.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Also, TIK history is cool. It's good page.
Is it TIK history? I said
TIK
Tiki.
history, yeah.
TIK history.
Yeah, it's good
not
page.
Tiki.
Good information.
Let's read some more. Boosted Yogi says, "From what I'm understanding, she filed the lawsuit the day after it was signed into law." Amazing.
Wow.
Nothing to see here.
No,
Don't ask
no.
any questions.
Totally legitimate.
Bertman asks, "How come leftists aren't boycotting CNN for platforming Trump?" Bertman, you're supposed to be a writer over here at Timcast, and they are. There were people at CNN. There was a CNN contractor actually wrote a statement published on Twitter saying it is wrong that CNN is doing this. It should not be platforming this man.
Did they quit
There
their
was a
job
bunch of
for
comments
protest?
too.
Yeah.
When it was first announced, there was tons of comments from libs who were just pissed off.
Yep. All right, where are we at with the super chats? Let's see what we got. Jackknife TV says they're going to try to lead him on. She is openly pushing the subject to get him to dive deeper. This is a reference to Trump talking about January 6th and the election. And that's what I'm saying. CNN, when Trump was like, "We got to talk about election because our borders are terrible right now." And she's like, "Well, I want to go back to January 6th," because they want the sound bites. They want the commercials. They're doing Democrats a favor in that I'm sure some Democrat was like, "Can you get Trump to talk for even a few minutes about January 6th and the election? Because we are going to chop that thing up 100 ways and run ads like crazy." I'm like, don't worry. Caitlin Collins goes out there and the guy in her ear is saying, "Ask him again. Now ask him again. Tell him no and go ask him again." And that's why she kept saying the same things over and over again.
Every time they have a debate, that's where the moderators start from, is a list of questions that they have to ask so they can get the soundbite that they want.
Yeah.
And then they ask it in the exact way that they need to.
Look, I feel bad for that stay-at-home mom. She came in, she asked a specific question about the troops, which I thought would have been an interesting answer. And to be fair, Trump and Sweet Caitlyn both ignored it. Caitlyn just introduced 5 other questions.
Bushdale says Trump hit it out of the park. He talked circles around that moron sharing the stage with him and nailed answering the crowd questions. CNN embarrassed themselves with this one. I completely agree. I think he started a little slow. I was getting a little frustrated, but then he quickly just swung it out of the park. Amazing. When he was like, "Well, I'm not president anymore." That was
So funny.
the first big hit. It was amazing.
Yeah, I like when he is succinct and not not rattled. When he was getting rattled, you could kind of tell, especially when they were talking about the documents. That was just too much talking over one another.
Right.
And really, that's the moderator's job to try and keep it from getting that way.
Right.
But I really liked the conversation about Ukraine, and it really made her look like, dude, she answered you, or he answered you very succinctly several ways, and she kept going back to it. That's how you can see she's got to try and pull something out of it. Otherwise, she's not doing her job.
I like this because Trump gives the answers I want to hear. It's like, is he perfect? No, of course he's not. Nobody's going to be. But when he was talking about abortion, and she's like, will you sign an abortion ban? Politicians will be like, well, you know, abortions are an interesting thing. And I think as an American, we have to, Trump said, it depends on what the deal is. Bring the deal to me, we'll negotiate, because we have negotiating power. He's like, I got Roe v. Wade overturned, now we'll bring the deal to the table, we'll see what we get. And I'm like, that's a good answer. It's like, it's absurd that they try and ask these absolutist questions. They know the only thing that will happen is you will lose support. Will you ban abortion outright? Donald Trump. Trump could just be like, well, it's more complicated than that, probably to some degree, but not absolutely. Like, you got to, like, the answer's not yes or no. And he even said, he was like, look, some people say 6 weeks, some people say 8 weeks, I don't know, we'll see. And then she kept asking over and over again. What they're going to do is they're going to clip it up and say Trump refused to answer.
Yeah. Well, do you remember in 2016, during the Republican debates, they kept asking if he would accept the results of the election. And they asked it over and over and over again, and he refused to respond. Yeah. And that was, again, one of those things where they were gonna throw that back at him. And the fishing, all they do is fish.
Right. Brandon Hampson says, as a sailor who has been drunken, we spend atrocious amounts of money when we are half seas over.
Thank goodness we're hearing from the source.
There we go. Now we know. Now we know.
I think it's being like the sailors on leave, right? Like, compare them to all kinds of wild
Yeah,
places.
in high school in Singapore, I saw a lot of sailors only doing just that, spending an absurd amount of money because they're at port, you know? Yeah.
I was in the Air Force. We did the same.
Yeah, totally.
But you guys aren't as gone for as long as the
No,
sailors
we
are.
just like to drink
Okay,
as much.
fair.
Sergeant Buck says Caitlin Collins is debating Trump so much she may as well announce she's running for president. Seriously. Because a town hall isn't supposed to be that.
No.
She's supposed to say, what do you think about X? And then have him answer. And then once he's done talking, you can say, so unlike the election thing, I would say, Mr. President, you've stated X. Please explain to the audience your views. Then Trump talks. Then you can say, yes, but according to this person in your administration, you were wrong about this. How would you respond to that? That's what a town hall's supposed to be. Not, no, you're wrong, Trump. Like,
Wrong.
what, you debating him?
Yeah.
And then she kept doing it every time. Like, no, I'm sorry, that's not true, Trump. You're wrong. You can't say that. It's like, you are not here to debate him on what is right or wrong. He is here to speak. Right. It's crazy.
It's like live fact checking.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I'm not a Trump fan, but the thing that I really appreciated from him was the thing about Ukraine. When she kept saying, who do you want to win? It was such an obvious bait thing, and he actually said it in the exact way that you would want somebody to be like, it's not about winning, it really is about people not dying anymore. And
It
she
made her
kept trying
look
to bring it
so
back.
immature. It makes CNN look so surface level. They're equating this to winning.
It made their tactics very obvious, and it was such a virtue signal. It was like, we need to be able to put you in a camp, so you need to answer this question like I'm asking it, not the way you're asking it now. That's why she kept coming back to it.
Desanctimonious. No, it doesn't work.
I like
Not a
yours,
fan.
the swamp one.
Deswampus?
Yeah, it's better.
I think there has to be a better nickname than that. But
She's just
Satan?
Satan.
Satan
I
might
don't
be a
know.
little too far.
I honestly think Meatball Ron was the best one.
Yeah, or just call him Ronnie. Like, make him sound like a little kid.
I think there's a lot of ways to go with that.
Yeah,
I'm
Lil
not sure
Ron.
the Sanctimonious is my favorite.
Lil Ronnie or Meatball Ron?
Meatball Ron's great.
I mean, I think Ron DeSantis is the best governor this country's had in a very, very long time. I think he's doing amazing work in Florida. And I think he'd be a great president. I'm leaning towards Trump at the current moment, and I think Trump just did an excellent performance. So
I've said this a lot of times, but do you think we could maybe just not like get into these two camps already?
It's got to be Trump. DeSantis got to be Trump. Like DeSantis VP.
Also, can't we just be glad, like, Ron DeSantis did lots of cool things. Let's not eviscerate all of the Republicans because, you may support Trump. Let's have lots of strong people in this side of the aisle.
I've said it a lot on Twitter, and I keep getting tagged over it. But like, I don't have a problem with Trump, and I don't have a problem with DeSantis, and I'm not sure why we have to have a problem with one or the other. And that's
No, it needs to be Trump DeSantis 2024.
It's the race to the bottom. It's the tactic. It's like, how do I make myself look good? Well, the tactic is really smear the opponent.
Yeah.
So that's the race to
And I
the bottom.
understand why Trump's doing it. See, that's the thing is I understand why Trump's doing it because that's his job. His job is to, get all the competition out of the way. But I'm not sure why it's everyone on Twitter's job to then also get rid of anybody that doesn't currently hold the same position they do. I guess that's just the nature of Twitter. But
They're used to regurgitating the tactic.
Yeah.
If they don't come up with a tactic, they regurgitate the tactic.
Yep. Raymond G. Sanders says this lady is insufferable. She really is.
Yeah, man.
She doesn't have the same, like, I mean, I get that they're trying and they do need someone, but you look at someone like Megyn Kelly and you know why she became an anchor. Like, she's got, you look at Laura Ingraham and you're like, I get it. They have punch. Like, you watch them and you're like, that's a person with X Factor. Caitlin doesn't have that. It's like dry, droll, and generic.
And whiny. Really,
Yeah.
like the biggest takeaway from tonight for her was how whiny she was. Just
So
no, that's not right. It's not right. No.
She needed more poise.
Yeah.
She wasn't poised. You could tell, even though she had like good posture and she didn't really like cringe her face too
No
much. You could
presence.
tell, yeah.
She upstage.
She
But,
did.
but it's not about being upstage. I mean, you're not supposed to be there to upstage. Or
Right, there's no staging.
but she has no presence.
Right.
It's like she was an inverse presence, like sucking energy into exuding energy.
I think this is something that you'll hear tomorrow a lot, which is that, the right is attacking her for pushing back on Trump, and girls have such a hard time because when they assert themselves, it says people say they're bossy. And I think it's important to note that, like, she didn't perform well. It's not about the fact that she's female. It's about the fact that she did not moderate this conversation. She really tried to argue her points, and the fact that she did not advance this experience for anyone, including the network she's supposed to represent.
Well, it was her conversation.
Yeah,
She
but
wasn't
for no-
advancing anyone else's conversation. Except
And
for
she didn't
herself.
win anything. She made herself and therefore CNN look bad.
What do we got here? Tucson Alorum says, not making every single liberal who fled a city did mail-in voting to cast a vote and voted locally in the place they fled to. A non, this is kind of sentence fragmented. I'm not sure what they're saying. A non-voting felon for life is the same thing as too big to fail argument because it would obliterate the Democratic Party.
They responded to something I can tell what it was.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I was trying to read it, time, and I appreciate it. But a non-voting felon for life is the same exact thing as a too big to fail argument. You're implying that if we take away a felon's right to vote, Democrats lose?
That's what I can figure out from that.
Sure.
Yeah, that's interesting worded.
Yeah. Dansky says, Tim, I think you're confusing the Texas shooter with the juror, read 4 episodes. I am not. In the court documents, they say he watched 3 or 4 episodes, and the shooter posted 4 clips from 1 episode. So that guy only watched 1 episode, and the media just lies, whatever. Sir Alexander Full says they want to give Tucker Carlson your time slot. Why? This is the crazy thing, right? Like, I go on Joe Rogan's show and he's talking about ivermectin. I'm like, I disagree. I don't think he does anything. And they're like, Tim Pool is the poster boy for ivermectin. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's the weirdest thing. They're like desperate. They're like, please, Tim, please be right wing. And I'm like, I just disagree with that. I just don't understand. And then here I am using the New York Times as a source, and they're like, he must be far right. It's just, dude, I mean, keep doing that. You're discrediting yourselves.
I'll
take the freebies.
If you're right wing, then you're Fox's problem, right? You're stealing Fox's audience. But if you are moderate and you're drawing from both places, then you are everybody's problem, and that's what they don't want.
Well, that's why they're going after me now, because they're like, our audience, like an urban liberal New Yorker in the Bronx will watch Timcast. But it's like, we got to stop that.
You cannot take the Young Turks audience from them.
Well, you're right.
Don't do it.
You're right. They've already lost it.
Well, and when we went to Congress and Matt Gaetz was there, he was saying he'd come out here, he'd done a show, and then we went to Congress, and he was like, I was amazed by how many truck drivers or waitresses or just working people were like, oh, I saw you on Tim Pool. That was awesome, man. Like, I think people underestimate podcasting in general. I don't think they really understand or know how to measure and compare to like these mainstream established platforms. But especially the work that you've done, it's unique in a way that they are not sure what to do, so they'd rather just crush
New York Times doesn't even know what the show is. Yeah. They said the culture war. Like that thing we launched 2 months ago, and there's like, what do we have, 11 episodes?
Literally 11 episodes.
11 episodes.
That's literally in 11 episodes, you corrupted a jury.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. The thing that we talk about conspiracy theories, we've never talked about conspiracy theories.
Well, the legacy media doesn't understand any of the new media at all.
No.
I mean, they don't. It's clear from the tactics that they take that they don't understand, Joe Rogan, they don't understand Tim Pool, they don't understand Crowder, they don't understand whoever. Like, they are completely living 20 years in the past, and they're getting killed. They're getting killed too. I mean, the ratings or the watches for this show will take out pretty much any of CNN's like daily stuff.
Oh yeah, no question. They don't even hit. They barely hit 5 figures in the keynote.
Right.
Well, any animal that's dying lashes out for the last bastion of control, and really what the legacy media is seeing is that this new media and alternative media is really stepping up, so they need to try and exercise some control over it by placing people in certain camps and them controlling the narrative of what those camps mean. And I think, it sounds trite to say it, but the 2024 election is likely going to be the most important one of all time. It's a very seemingly pivotal time in history. So it makes sense to, like, okay, who has sway, who has influence, control the boxes that you can put them in, and that way the legacy media that feels like they're dying has a little bit of control left.
But does it really matter since the robots are going to kill us anyway?
They're not going to. It sounds. So Terminator's.
I haven't seen that movie yet, so no.
The Terminator's going to knock on your door, and then people are going to be like, oh, it's the Terminator. It's coming to get us.
And he's going to clean your house.
And he's going to plug into your brain and then give you untold euphoric pleasures and put you into the metaverse where you experience all the great things and you never want to leave. Like, what was it in Star Trek Generations? Was it the Nexus? What do you call it? It was?
Yeah, but I've never seen that movie because I'm not a Star Trek person, right?
Where it's like, so basically there's this like dimensional rift or something, and when you're in it, you experience ultimate happiness. And
William Shatner has a family, and he's chopping wood in the forest.
And he doesn't want to leave, and Picard's like,
I'm not a nerd.
leave. You have to leave this.
I'm just speculating. I don't know.
Just speculating. I saw the cliff notes to the movie. I didn't actually watch it.
Well, that's kind of like Soma we were talking about before. Soma from, what is that, 1984?
No, that's from
Brave
Brave
New
New
World.
World.
Yeah, so like being happy with your servitude.
Bro,
They're Equilibrium, the best movie ever made.
The first thing I think happens is they go to people who lose loved ones, and they say, just plug in, and we've taken the social media of your loved one, create an AI version of them. You can talk to them, ask them questions, and they're not going to leave.
It's called Replica. Have you seen that?
Replica?
Replica.
Oh, the dating app.
Well, yeah.
It's taking dating away from it because dudes were,
Well, yeah, and then some people were let down because they kind of pulled back because it was getting a little too hot and heavy for them. But it actually started. The woman who launched it was because she lost her best friend or something like that. So she made a clone so she could cope with the loss. So like that's where it started, and then it started turning into like a dating.
Do you think that's coping? Like if you lose someone and you make a clone of them, do you think you're actually grieving or are you avoiding grief?
Like that's a very interesting, nuanced question because I would say is meditating coping, is praying coping, is like anything from alcohol to cannabis to long walks on the beach coping.
But if you lose someone and they can't talk to you anymore, so you make a version of life where they can talk to you, are you actually letting that person go? Are you grieving the loss and accepting that they're gone?
Yeah, I don't think there's a clear answer to that because in a sense, I know many people who have like lost a loved one and they still speak with them in some way. So this is externalizing it in the same way that writing is externalizing your mind onto the outside world. So I don't know. I don't know how to fully answer that.
I do. Go to timcast.com and become a member for all of the answers to the universe.
What a segue.
42. So go to timcast.com, become a member. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that like button, subscribe to the show, share the show with all your friends. We're going to have that members only uncensored show coming up in about 10 minutes. We got a lot more to talk about. You can find us at Timcast IRL basically everywhere. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Carpe Donktum, do you want to shout anything out?
Dom Luker.
That was a good shout out.
Yeah, all right.
And Carpe Donktum on Twitter.
Okay, great.
Yeah, well, I'll just say go to benjosephstewart.com, check out all the content that I make. Go to my YouTube page, which is youtube.com/BenJosephStewart, and you'll see all the mini docs that I've been making on things like modern day Moloch and where AI is headed and why I seem to be an optimist on all of it.
And we got a documentary that we're launching very soon as well.
Game of Money, and I guess it's kind of a play on Game of Thrones. So, yeah.
And then a lot more coming after that. We got a bunch of cool projects, potentially. So.
Transhumanism is going to be an awesome
That's the one I want to do the most, but this banking one I think is particularly relevant. We got lucky with it.
It's timely, yeah.
Nice. That'll be awesome. I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for timcast.com. You should follow at Timcast News on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to follow me personally, you can find me on Instagram at HannahClaire.b and on Twitter at HCBrimlow. Thanks so much, guys.
And I am at Surge.com. Argue with me on Twitter as always. I will be in the chat for this video. If you have any questions, please send my way.
All right, everybody. We will see you in about 10 minutes on the front page of timcast.com for the uncensored members only show. Thanks for hanging out.
Hey, let's see if I can do this without laughing.
Hi, I'm Avery, and I'm going to be showing you guys how to restrain an aggressive dog today. We're going to start by putting the towel underneath the neck and scooping up. Get them up!
Okay.
What did I just tune into? I don't know what to tell you, man. You never know what you're gonna see on these streams, all right? You never know.
You laugh, you lose. Come on, grab your friends. What's
going on, my dudes? Welcome. Cannot laugh. The videos begin. Woo! Is that ice? Oh, please tell me it's ice.
Either that or glass.
Oh, this is gonna be good. Hey, it's Jay Schlatt.
I want to play Doodle Jump.
After that ice clip, bro, me too. That's the only thing that's gonna make me happy. Woo! Classic, dude. You know it's gonna be a good day when you got Coca-Cola Espuma. Lil bro getting cooked for a witch's potion. There's a cat. That's a cat. No! Don't put him in the brew! Do not let them cook!
Genshin Impact is an open-world action RPG game available on PC, Android, iOS, and PlayStation 4 and 5.
Bro!
Step into a vast magical world
I
now
don't
and
look
start
like
your
that!
adventure on the continent of Teyvat.
I do not even look like that! Not even at all! You guys are foul. You guys are cruel. Keep it up.
Thanks for saving our lives, mister.
Are you boys all right?
Will you be my mommy?
Okay, Carl
Yeah,
gets
Carl.
it, dude. He said what we were not brave enough to say.
This is how I train my partner to love me more. See you next week. Whenever I go out of town, right before I leave, I secretly replace their coffee with decaf so that while I'm gone, they experience caffeine withdrawal. These symptoms are exactly how I want them to feel when I'm not there. When I return, I switch them back. They think the reason they felt horrible while I was gone was because they missed me. I'm not doing anything wrong.
This is awful.
Because caffeine is bad for you anyway.
What do you mean you're not doing anything wrong? Oh my god!
Dude.
No, don't say Riz manipulation, bro. Here's a thought. Why don't you just try being a really great person and partner? That could work. Manipulative Riz. Oh lord.
Yeah,
Why
that's
are-
full
dude,
freak out
every time
mode.
cats get scared, they're just like, hey, better just destroy everything around me to make sure I'm okay. Every time, dude. Oh. The pants, okay.
That's interesting.
Oh, run, bro! I gotta know how he gets there.
Huh.
That's a skill issue. That is a very creative way to use that filter, though. You know, honestly, that was amazing. Damn.
Back with another milk. Help! Help! Help me! Help!
He's so convincing. Yeah, he does have the Skinwalker Riz. All kinds of Riz today. Most of them just not good.
Ooh, right in the noggin.
You know what I see when I see that? Workers' compensation. Then again, if he loaded it, he might be responsible, so you never know.
An alarming new study finds the vast majority of those being treated for Alzheimer's do not in fact have the disease.
Our survey simply asked, do you have Alzheimer's? The vast majority said no.
The findings were based on one-on-one interviews with nearly 800
No, that's
so-called
foul.
Alzheimer's patients.
Chat, The Onion is a fake news network, okay? It's all a skit. It's fine. We're chilling. They didn't do it.
Yes, sir! Oh!
Ooh! Oh. Some drywall is really thin, chat. Don't test it, but I bet you could. Never mind. I'm not going to give you guys the idea.
Almost.
I did the same thing in like elementary school. We were doing, you know, in elementary school, how you like go do like little exercises. We were doing like relay races, and I was like, guys, I'm gonna go faster by farting, and everyone was like, oh yeah, that'd be so funny. And then I did it, and everyone was like, oh, I peaked. Never letting my grandpa film again.
Holy
What?
moly.
That's a great response. I would let grandpa film me. Okay, wait.
No.
New Couchcast leak. What? Why? For real? Hello?
Again.
Why? That is not the new Couchcast video. That is not it.
Power word! That's the
The Borzoi.
Kermit, you're so heavy now. Oh, Kermit. I walked into my bedroom, and Alana was listening to his heartbeat with a stethoscope. He's healthy. He's very healthy. To his heart. Heavy now. Oh, Kermit. I walked into my bedroom, and Alana was listening to his heartbeat with a stethoscope. He's healthy. He's very healthy. Good boy. Bye-bye.
Listen up, liberals. We've heard numerous accounts of customers engaging in Five Nights at Freddy's furry roleplay in our Arby's locations. That is absolutely vile. As a result, all of you stupid-ass furries will be sent to jail immediately, where you will be lobotomized to prevent future incidents. Arby's, we have the meats.
Okay then.
Arby's.
This is
What
a
the
regular
hell?
meme now. Oh no.
I would love to pummel that little toothpick of a man.
Arnold? Why is the Terminator voice acting for an elephant? I mean, it's great, but what the hell?
Power word!
Not again. No, please. Can you guys stop using power word kill on me, please? Next up.
Basically make a triangle. Just like that.
We get in knowledge today. We learn in here. Okay.
Haven't made me laugh yet.
Going crazy. Dude, where was the actual Roach music? You guys know the one. Something, something. I don't even remember. Wait, he's here! Yeah! This is the song! Yes! That is the song. You deserve to be at the gala, okay? Can you imagine if you could inhale that much helium where you just take off, you just into the sky? Oh my god. The way he hit the bottom of the stairs still like kind of standing up. That's good. That's good.
You are no stranger to violence.
50 million.
You've been hailed as a hero by everyone on this
50.
ship. Almost everyone.
50 million.
Come on, then.
50 million. I'm not gonna lie, this looks like a kind of guy that has 50 million power.
What? I have 50 million power in Rise of King.
Yep, there it is.
Scientists have made a new discovery indicating that dinosaurs sound much different than expected.
Come over here and kiss me on my hot mouth.
Hey, if you insist, I ain't gonna say no to a dinosaur. Come over and kiss me on my prehistoric mouth. What do you mean, AO? That is not an AO moment, Chad. But you know what is an AO moment? Coming over to my Discord and taking your video for the Laugh You Lose request. Boom, take your video and go. Here's ammo. Before we get her.
Jimmy's been 5 hours and we
Fish keyword fuck help those are shambas. But it fools your spearfish. Thank you so. Woo!
We're gonna start by putting the towel underneath the net and scooping up. Get him up!
Okay. What did I just tune into? I don't know what to tell you, man. You never know what you're gonna see on these streams, all right? You never know. Bro, what is this? What kind of cartoon has... Why is there an ad on this? What? This is... You screen recorded a video that was on film. Man, that was a lot. We just needed Likey at the end and I would have lost it.
Well. If it isn't Brooklyn's favorite failures, the stupid Mario Brothers.
Hey, that's a good-looking guy.
Yo, he's real. real. I love when people dress up as like obscure characters from shows or movies. That's so good. What? Oh.
저거 나 하지. 뭔가 했는데.
Is this just a game show where they're watch Twilight? 1,000,000%
Deserved.
I need a new customers. Right on time. You know, I've had just about enough pepperoni and mushrooms today. We're here to toss your salad.
Huh? Wait, what? What did he say? Somebody tell the Power Rangers they can't just say that. Don't say, where do I sign up? Y'all are down bad.
Okay, that almost got me. Ada did not care about and just totally cartwheeling down the stairs.
First of all, what kind of noise did that guy just make? And second, why did the rat tumble like that? Hang on, I need to... Hang on. Ratatouille is a little different than I remember, guys.
Dude, no, I don't want to hit the red shell. Oh, it dodged me. They took my mushrooms. That's so
tragic.
That's so.
Hey, isn't that the guy we just saw with the Mario movie?
Bullet bills are terrifying, man. My name is Dylan. Hey, I didn't say it. You got to take it up with him.
Well, what are you waiting for? Throw me a pass.
Yo, chat. You know that video with the guy, the grandpa with his daughters, and they put a water bottle and it spins on a fan and hits him a bunch of times? Should the Couchcast and I do that, but with a metal pipe? That would be legendary.
All right, that was a little unhinged.
This is why it's great that superpowers do not exist, bro. People would take advantage of them way too often. He does run like a Fall Guy. Toddlers do run like Fall Guys. They really do.
A suspension bridge! Let's go on it.
Wait. How are these guys real?
Suspension bridge?
Oh, he's gonna say sus. He's gonna...
Sus? That bridge is sus!
They're so bad, they're good. Who got their hair cut without permission? The Scrunkly. That straight up looks like Kermit when he gets out of the shower. Why this dog kind of got Riz? Bro, he had the Riz face on, chat. Chat, why are you guys reaching? He had the Riz face on. Dropping things down this hole. What? Where was that? Was that at school? Why do you have like a dungeon below your school? What the hell?
That is literally
Damn.
some Looney
Yeah, they
Tunes
straight up
shit.
went Tom and Jerry mode.
911, what's your emergency?
I think somebody broke into my house. In my living room.
Okay, stay where you are. We're going to send someone over right now.
Hell, I'm investigating.
You do not have to do that.
Giga Chad.
Oh man, it's a dog, and I hate dogs.
If there's a dog, it could be rabid. Do not approach it.
I'm approaching the rabbit dog now.
Do not approach the
This
dog.
is working on me.
Looks like a baby. It's coming up to me now.
Sir, get out of the room.
The dog is in my face. Oh, oh, oh. It's kissing me. Oh, this is very nice. And now I like dogs.
So is everything okay?
Oh, yeah, it is very okay. I'm getting killed by a dog. I think I'll name him Gregory.
Okay, great.
Hell yeah.
How did the dog enter your house?
Well, I installed a doggy door last week. Kids a puppy want to come on in.
Is that how you catch dogs? Is that how you get a new dog? You just install a doggy door, just wait for one to show up? Oh! Oh no.
You have reached your destination.
Are you sure? Are you
Oh my god, that
sure?
okay, almost got me.
Let you do that, Star Fox.
This game was epic. Star Fox 64, baby.
Who's the swine? How dare you! I am Pigma Dengar, and I... Pigma Boss! God damn it, this happens every time!
Classic. Got him, dude.
Keep your hand in the water.
moving.
Did he dip his hand?
Yeah, right.
This is not what the milking stream is gonna be like.
Just like that.
He's terrified.
Why is it Auntie Shantae's coming?
The smell.
It's a penis.
Nope.
Disgusting.
I'm in more control of myself than he is.
He knows to get out of there, man. He knows to get out of there. He does not want any of that.
Hey, PS4.
It's in my left ear. That thing moved. That thing was moving.
Alright, dude, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick, so... I said I gotta go to the bathroom. You said that? Oh! What the frick? What the hell are you doing? Are you naked? No! Oh, I thought you were naked. That doesn't make it better! Stop! Before school project. Why do you have 3 phones?
Why did he have 3 phones, man?
Millennial? Actually, I'm a Ravenclaw.
What the heck even is that? Looked like a Hufflepuff that belongs in Slytherin.
Stop typing John Pork IRL in the chat right now. Stop.
Okay, so I think this could be...
My dad built a statue for this place.
Wait, really? You might be able to see it then on this map.
It is Shrek.
Yeah, I gathered that.
Hey, that's a talented dad. Shrek be looking good.
What are you doing to our car? Your kid is scraping our car. What's the big deal? I got a settlement with over 2 million.
Bro, who is writing the script for these mobile games? I could literally make a better mobile game ad than that, man. Give me a budget of $5 and I'll make a better mobile game ad than that.
Genshin Impact is an open world action RPG game.
Why he make it naked? Why did he strip the USB?
Chef, ja, habe ich gerade Wildunfall gehabt. Wildunfall? Ja, habe ich Wildunfall.
He's thirsty.
Fisch.
He's just getting a sip.
Almost got me.
Fat law.
You can?
You guys were locked in on that ass, weren't you?
Yes! But why you gotta say it like that? Come on, dude. Okay. Oh, he broombin. Oh, he's sweeping.
We need Oregon, I bet.
All right.
Ooh.
That was good. Oh, that was good. All right, next up. Bro knows his fate. Oh no. You lost, bro? When? When did I laugh? Y'all are crazy.
That sucks.
No, not right now. Not right now. Nope.
And look at the face. That is a death sentence. He launches himself.
Bro, this is that dude.
Just all the cake in his face.
What? Holy moly.
Just a cake
Looks good
right
kill
in the
shot.
face.
That booty would be a murderer. Damn, they got him. Tragedy.
We just see
War.
we got any. We just see sauce, Chuck.
Chuck.
Worcestershire.
Isn't it? Wait,
I got it close.
I'm pretty sure I know how to pronounce this. It's Worcestershire sauce. Did
I got it better.
Did I win? No.
Okay. As soon as I saw the banana person, I saw where I was going.
I love that one. Okay. Facts. Probably. Actually, I have no idea what he said. I can't say facts, but he was spitting. Oh no.
That rabbit has no coordination.
Why is he so uncoordinated, man?
That cat got blasted.
He's funking dead.
I walked through the second door. I heard the voice of Jesus say,
I win. Alright.